Some of the content of Patriots Unfiltered may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
The world's original podcast.
Welcome to Patriots Unfiltered.
Listen, I am so proud of them. Why are you proud?
You're ruined. You're
You know, but I really am. I'm proud of you.
Yeah,
the very first.
I think that's so condescending.
Who are you? Who am I?
I'm proud
Who
of
am
you.
I?
What do you mean?
Proud of
This
you.
is
my
the
30th
man.
season.
I'm proud of you. I would say he's a little better than Evan makes him out to be, but not a ton. I wouldn't.
Well, I'm not putting him
I
in
can
the
argue
Hall of
anything.
Fame,
I wouldn't.
but did you see White's fit after the game?
Oh, his fit.
He's always
I'm
got.
sorry.
He's always got
Yeah.
cool style. He's got his
caught
own.
being unhip. Boomer.
What are they? Lizzies?
No,
Glizzies.
Glizzies.
What's that?
A
hot dog.
A glizzy?
It's just another name for it.
Who gave you that name? I just picture Paul on
Is this
the
an ad-lib part now?
Yeah, on the Renegade motion sofa, and it kind of goes berserk and walks like this, watching the game, and Diet Pepsi's all over the place.
No.
F the Bengals.
This is Patriots Unfiltered.
Presented by Toyota's official website for deals, buyatoyota.com.
All right, welcome to Patriots Unfiltered. It is Wednesday here at Gillette Stadium. We're talking Patriots for the next couple hours and whatever else comes to mind. It's Paul, it's me. Deuce will be here. Evan will be here. They're in the locker room right now.
Yes.
Talking to the
We
guys.
just got finished. We heard from Gerard Mayo, Jacoby Brissett. David Andrews had come in. That's when I left to come to see you.
Yep.
And I think that we're heading into the locker room after that. But I just love that. I love the open today. It's just like, one win completely changed. Like, we're all smiling, laughing.
It really does.
We're talking about the guys fit and glizzies.
Yeah,
and
you're
that's the Bengals. You're proud. How proud you are of your children.
Your shows are all positive. It's unbelievable.
One day.
Yeah, we're back to Homerville, but that's fine. It's 1 week. We got another challenge coming up with the Seahawks.
Yeah.
Wednesday is the turn the page day. It's typically under Belichick, and I assume under Gerard, it's the same thing. This is the day that they get their game plan. It's the day where they find out how are they going to attack the Seattle Seahawks and what can they expect from the Seahawks.
Yeah, a lot of early down stuff today.
Yeah.
Third down tomorrow.
I know they're going to be in pads today, so maybe you'll get some goal lines. I don't know, but anyway, this is the day that they start preparing for the Seattle Seahawks in terms of the players. So what do you think? I mean, we talked about week 1 and 2 are the toughest weeks to pick games, other than the last week of the season when you don't know who's playing. But Seahawks had a good game last week. And I picked the Broncos. I was wrong. They
were okay.
Yeah.
They were a little sloppy, but I think they were the much better team. I think the game kind of was closer on the scoreboard than it was on the field, if that makes any sense. But, yeah, I think there's a lot of similarities, in looking at – I did try to watch a good chunk of that second half when I got home, with my red zone viewing. And, Mike McDonald, youngest head coach in football. Gerard Mayo is right behind, second youngest, 30. Yep. I think they're 37 and 38. They want to play defense, both teams. They want to run the ball, both teams. They want to be physical. I would say that one thing that Seattle has that the Patriots don't is a little bit more explosiveness at the receiver spot, but I don't know how much that comes into play because I don't really think they like to play that way.
Well, is that because of Geno Smith?
I think it's the way they play in general, but they haven't really had, since Russell Wilson. You remember that whole thing, like, let Russ cook? That's where the whole cook thing started with Russell Wilson when he was sort of in his prime. And it never really worked. That was kind of the downfall of Russell Wilson's time in Seattle. So Pete Carroll always wanted to run the ball. It looks like the Seahawks want to play in a similar way.
Yeah, they've got some talent on offense.
They do. I mean, they have 3 good receivers with Metcalf, Lockett, and Jackson Smith and Jigba.
And even Noah Fant.
Decent tight end, absolutely.
Yeah.
Kenneth Walker is a really,
Farrell
really good.
Brown, don't forget.
He is their backup. I didn't know that. I actually saw that on the depth chart.
Farrell, yeah.
But Kenneth Walker's a really good back, and that's what they lean on. Now, here's a big X factor. He had a great game in the opener against Denver, had over 100 yards with about 11 minutes left in the game. He had to leave. Didn't play anything in the last 2 series as they're trying to run the clock out. So he had an abdominal problem. He, I guess, told reporters after the game that he's good. But and I think T. Higgins said after the Thursday practice that he pulled his hamstring that he was good, and he didn't practice Friday and didn't play in the game. So that's something worth monitoring because I think that's a much different situation with Zach Charbonnet as their backup running back. He's not Kenneth Walker.
Right. So and then on defense, I'm just looking at Leonard Williams. I mean,
Yeah, they have. I
he's
mean,
a
they have.
handful.
In last year, this is kind of similar to Cincinnati. They were not very good stopping the run. Matter of fact, they were even worse than the Bengals stopping the run last year. Just looking at the first game, looks like they addressed that. They were much, much better. And most of the rushing yards they did allow against Denver were on Bo Nix scrambles, not designed runs by Bo Nix,
Right.
just him running for his life. They had a lot of
Yeah.
They got a lot of pressure on the rookie quarterback, and I think he had over 30 of their 90 yards. Like they couldn't run the ball at all. So Leonard Williams been a good player for a long time. They have some beef up front. Jonathan Hankins.
Yeah.
And I know they drafted Byron Murphy. I'm not sure how much he's factored in already, but they were much better against the run in week one than they were last year.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, even though you got the Seahawks traveling cross country for a 1:00 game, I think this is going to be more of a challenge than last week, and we're going to get to our picks tomorrow.
It'll definitely be more
Yeah.
than a challenge. I don't think there's any because I think Seattle will play hard. I don't think Cincinnati was mentally ready to go.
So something was wrong there.
Yeah. I mean, I think in retrospect, and I'm not trying to make excuses for. I mean,
Yeah.
you got it right. I said that to you yesterday, and I got it wrong. But I think I personally underestimated the amount of drama that was going on. I listened to Mike Reese talk about that this morning. He and I talked about it yesterday when we were filming All Access. Like, sometimes you forget, like, these guys are human beings.
Right.
And that plays a role. T. Higgins, whether or not he's irritated having to play. Trey Hendrickson, wanted to trade earlier in the offseason, ended up coming in and playing. Jamar Chase skipped the entirety of camp.
Yeah.
So how ready was he? And then mentally, those guys, like if you're Jamar Chase, and we'll close the book on Cincinnati, obviously now, but if you're Jamar Chase and you see well, T. Higgins has done everything that they've asked, and they franchise him, why won't they give him a contract? They're going to do the same thing to me next year.
Yeah.
I'll come back and play, but then next year I'm going to need I want my contract, and they're going to give me the 5th-year option, and I'm not going to get my money either.
I wonder
mentally I think that weighs on you.
I just wonder with that franchise, if for different reasons, like Andrew Luck, if Joe Burrow is going to be wasted talent. on that
I heard
team.
someone say this about Joe Burrow is going to be Andrew Luck, and I don't think it's the word. I don't think he's been beaten up. Like, he has injuries.
I said for different reasons.
Yeah, I don't.
They just won't give him the support.
Yeah, it's like they can't get out of their own way still. And I think they did a lot of things right, Cincinnati.
And
they got to the bottom of the league and got the number 1 overall pick, and since then they've done a lot of good things.
Yeah.
But now they're not taking care of that, and they're not making sure that good stuff continues.
Only bad things can happen to them. All right. So we turn the page. Did you happen to hear Coach Mayo this
I did.
morning?
Yeah, I was in on Mayo. Can I have observationally?
Sure.
We've now had, I don't know, whatever it is, two months worth of, mostly daily updates from Gerard Mayo. I wish that he wouldn't tell us what we think of everybody all the time. Like, he's always saying, you guys don't know much about Ramondre Stevenson. He doesn't have, Kenneth Walker, he really pops off the tape. I don't know what his Madden rating is, or, you guys don't know how good he is. Like, why does he always have to tell us what we, you know what I mean? Like, if you think, you think people covering the Patriots don't understand that Ramondre Stevenson's pretty good?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's one of my takeaways. Like, he's kind of always.
Yeah. Don't bring your own perceptions into the discussion until you're asked.
Like 2 years ago, Ramondre Stevenson had over 1,100 yards rushing, and he caught 67 passes. I think people think that Ramondre Stevenson's a pretty good player when he's healthy.
Right.
And the key is keeping him healthy.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that like crutches.
Yeah.
When I think Gerard has one of those, like he sort of throws it in there. Like in another one today, he was like, you guys will stop asking me the quarterback. Now we know who's playing, so you guys will stop asking me the offensive line questions and the quarterback. But like if I'm a writer and I want to ask how Drake May's doing, I'm going to feel.
Yeah.
I should feel comfortable enough to do that.
It's another way of leading the witness, maybe. I don't know, but.
Yeah. But nothing too pressing. I didn't think.
Yeah,
today.
I didn't hear most of it because I was doing something else, and then I tuned in and I just caught the tail end. And he was talking about, maybe Ramondre will run for 150 yards, maybe Jacoby will throw for 300. I don't know. Like, what was that in reference to?
I think he's sort of trying to get away from. I'm just going to let you know what the game plan is every week.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think that was an effort to do that. He did talk about having some confidence in the ability to change.
Yeah.
Within the game, and like we might want to run the ball, but if the game doesn't unfold that way, we feel pretty comfortable because we were able to do that last week.
Yeah.
We were able to sort of change. Then it's funny because Brissett came out and said, we basically ran the same play over and over and over again because they couldn't stop it.
Yeah.
So I thought those two things were kind of conflicting.
We got lucky.
By the way.
Yeah.
As Jacoby Brissett came out right after Mayo, he sat down. Had just started his press briefing, and Mayo came back in with an orange Tennessee hoodie that Brissett had to wear because NC State got obliterated by Tennessee.
There you go.
So I guess that was on behalf of Gerard Mayo and Joe Milton.
There you go.
The Tennessee grads.
We got lucky on our content team because for the Bengals game, we mic'd up Ramondre Stevenson.
Yes.
So I think if that's not already on Patriots.com, it's going to be out soon. I think, is it out there yet? I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Yeah, but we got lucky,
I do know that we had Stevenson mic'd up. I haven't.
Yep.
I haven't heard any of it.
Yep. So we're going to effort to get a player mic'd up for every game. I don't know if it's going to happen, but we've got somebody in the works for next week. I can't divulge that yet.
Gerard, now I will not remember all the different players, but Gerard opened the press conference by explaining how after wins he will be announcing the practice players of the week. Guys that were.
These are the black shirt guys?
Yeah, I don't know if they wear black shirts the way that Bill used to do.
Yeah.
This will be another thing, by the way. I'm going to give you a little forecasting. There will be people on the radio today that say Bill would have never done that.
Right.
Right, when Bill did it every week.
Right.
But he didn't announce them.
Yeah.
He put them in black jerseys.
Right,
and if you went out to practice and did your job, you knew who those guys were, right?
Right.
So it was like Eric Johnson, Joe Milton was one of them, I think. Keyshawn Booty was one of them. And there was a couple of practice squad names that I wasn't overly familiar with. O'Shawn, someone, not Zimenez, a different guy that has only been here for a short time. But it was probably like a half dozen players. He singled them out for being really instrumental in
the Dirty Bird
prep,
guys.
Yeah, the prep work, the scout team work. So he wanted to recognize those guys.
That's good.
Yeah, I think it is good.
I think,
Absolutely.
the team recognition stuff, much like the captain's patch, your captain, wear the patch. Like, why are we hiding it? So, little things like that. My sense of Gerard is, I think he's getting a little bit more confident. And
could not agree
before
more.
the win, I think he's figuring this whole thing out. But I get this. I agree with you. Little things like, don't lead the witness. Don't try to guess what the writers are thinking or what they want, or make your statement. Tell them what you want to tell them, and then take the questions.
It's like he doesn't get a lot of publicity. Like, I would strongly disagree with that. I think Kenneth Walker and Ramondre Stevenson are really considered to be really solid running backs in that league.
But let's face it. This offense didn't deserve a lot of publicity leading up to this year. I mean, nobody really.
No, but I'm saying Stevenson has been one of the lone focal point.
Well, I think we said all off season that he's probably their best offensive player right now.
Yeah, and I think that nothing that happened Sunday,
and he's going to need to be.
Nothing that happened Sunday was out of the ordinary.
No,
for Ramondre Stevenson, I don't know what his career high in yards is. I don't know if if 120 is but to me it's irrelevant. He's had a lot of games that were good. Now maybe he had more yards in this game than he's had before. I think he's only had 400 or 500 yard games in his career, but I've seen him have a lot of good games where he's averaging 5 yards a carry, and maybe they split the carries a little bit more, so he ended up with 80 instead of 120.
I think the thing about him is he's a good player.
Stay healthy.
And stay healthy. and with a little bit of help in the blocking game, he could be one of the top backs, and that's the only thing holding him back. I don't think it was his own skill.
Yeah, and I think that sometimes, like I would argue, the contract extension. Like, I'm not necessarily a big fan of extending running backs.
Right, or running backs, period.
But that's why.
I
Not
know.
because of Ramondre
I
Stevenson.
know.
You just led me perfectly
Right.
into my point.
Yeah.
Like, I have no problem with Ramondre Stevenson's ability as a running back. I don't necessarily think it's great to extend running backs, period, unless it's like just the elite of the elite.
Right.
And I think that Ramondre Stevenson's a very good running back. I don't think he's Christian McCaffrey.
Right. Yep.
So that's all.
Yep. Although,
But I think that that's kind of what Gerard was talking about. It's like, you got, maybe he heard people say like, man, I don't know about why they extended him.
Yeah.
And that's like a slam on the player. No, it's
no.
the position.
Yep. Yep.
What else you got?
So how do you think the Patriots will attack this Seattle defense?
So,
because they, from what I understand, don't they have issues in their back end?
No, they have a good secondary.
Do they?
Yeah.
I thought they were
They
having
have two really good corners in Reek Woolen and Devon Witherspoon.
Okay, so there's no. I thought there was some weakness that they had back there. I don't know.
No, I think they were better last year against the pass than they were against the run.
Yeah.
And then they were really good. They only allowed like 130 yards in the opener. But again, they played a rookie quarterback in his first game. That's a tough spot. I mean, I'm not going to say Bo Nix stinks because he went to Seattle in his first ever game and was held in check. But I thought Seattle's defense dictated that game a little bit. I'd be curious to see they change. Now, for years and years, the Pete Carroll, way back, with like Dan Quinn even, when he was defensive coordinator, and they were always known for that three deep look, and they played the safeties, kept everything in front of them. I'd be curious to see with Mike McDonald, who comes from Baltimore, and before that, in Michigan. Be curious to see if they do a little bit more aggressive up front. I know they got a lot of pressure on Nix. If they go with the same kind of approach and they try to get after him with four, or they're because Evan talked about it yesterday a little bit. They disguise a lot, and you don't know who's coming. It's not necessarily blitzing, but they do a good job of mixing and matching, kind of like the Patriots have done.
Yeah, I mean, they could be a sneaky good team. They get overshadowed in that NFC West, by the Chiefs, obviously.
They'll be in the playoff
they could be
hunt,
pretty good.
I think.
Yeah.
But they're like, to me, there's like somewhere between like 8 and 9, 9 and 8 in that general area.
So Geno Smith's interesting because we all know of his, comeback, if you will, into the league. He's a guy that has a lot of confidence. Maybe his ability doesn't match up to his confidence, so I think he'll make mistakes, whereas a guy like Jacoby Brissett won't. But he'll also make more plays than Jacoby Brissett will. So I would not underestimate Geno Smith in this game.
Well, I think that would be the way that they're going to have to win the game. If Seattle's going to come here, they need to be balanced. They can't just hand the ball to Kenneth Walker and hope that the quarterback doesn't do anything. I think their edge, to me, would be the combination of being able to run and throw.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen Smith do that. Really, that when he came back, that was 2 years ago now. The first half of that season, he took the league by storm.
Right.
He was playing really, really well. It kind of tapered off at the end, and they got knocked out of the playoffs. Last year, I think, was kind of meh.
Yeah.
He's kind of like what the Geno Smith that we remember. He's not without talent, but he's just okay.
Yeah.
That's the way I think of him, and I don't think they want him throwing the ball 30-plus times.
Yeah.
I think it's hard to win that way.
Yeah.
Again, I say the same stuff about the Patriots.
And he will make mistakes. So, they might be able to bait him into a few things. But they're
and
going to have to worry.
Like, mistakes don't bother me if you make plays.
Yeah. But they are going to have to worry about his legs. He will run.
Yeah, he's not really a huge run. He's a little like Brissett.
Yeah.
He will run. Now, I know everybody saw the 34-yard touchdown. And they're like, whoa, wow. Like, I don't think that's what he's going to make his living doing.
Yeah.
It's a good run. I'll give him that. That was an impressive touchdown.
So I can't wait. I have no idea. I don't think anyone does.
You don't have a feel for this one yet? Or you're just saving it for tomorrow?
It takes a little bit of time. My feel develops over the course of the week,
Fair point.
Yeah.
I'm not going to mock you.
Yeah.
Not after picking that upset.
All right, so Deuce and Evan will be here as soon as locker room closes up, and then I think Evan's going to go out to practice for a little bit.
Yeah, I think Deuce will come in shortly, and Evan probably we will not see on Wednesday.
So 855 PATS 500 is the TPX hotline. Web radio at patriots.com is the email address. So we might as well get right to you, your calls and emails. We'll start off the calling with Sean in Vancouver on the TPX hotline. What's up, Sean?
Hey, Fred, I have a few things.
Hey,
first of all,
Sean.
Muzzle tough.
Already?
Yeah,
You're not there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Hello?
Turn that up. Yep.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear. I just want to turn up the volume.
Okay. So,
Go ahead, Sean.
Yeah,
Yep.
First of all, muzzle tough on calling that score. I think you and Pat Nagwanon are the only one who got that right, so that's pretty amazing. And there's just a few things. One thing I wanted to say is I'm really happy that Bentley taken over the duties from Slater in terms of the post-game cheer. I mean, that's a good tradition with the linebackers leading the team, going back to Brewski and then Mayo, and now Bentley having a strong captain role, which I appreciate.
Well, Slater did.
I don't know if you saw the Tostitos ads with Brady and Edelman, which I thought was fun. I don't know if you got a chance to see that one yet. And the other thing I want to talk about is the game coming up. I was watching the Seattle Broncos game after the Patriots game, and I noticed something kind of interesting. Seattle really didn't do anything offensively in the first half, but on the second half, they were able to take advantage of the safety movement. So when the safeties were playing back, they ran the ball, and Kenneth Walker had a great game in the second half. And then when they came into the box, they were able to pass, and they saw that. So I think in this game, Peppers and Duggar have to just have some movement pre-snap to try and fool them a little bit. Also, offensively, I'd like to see the Patriots take a couple of shots downfield on play action. So that's all I got. I'll take it off there. Thanks a lot.
Okay, thanks for the call, Sean. Yeah, I mean, he mentioned linebackers with the, it was Slater the last few years.
That's what he said.
Oh, but he's not a linebacker.
No, but he said he'd like to see him taking it over for Slater back to the linebacker.
Oh, back
tradition.
to the linebackers.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm Sean's right. And I just, that was because I didn't see much of the first half. I just saw little highlights here and there as we were watching while we were doing post game. I did see most of the second half that they showed. And I wasn't overly impressed offensively with anything Seattle did. They racked up some points eventually, but to me it was more a product of the other team just not being able to do anything offensively, putting them in good situations. And they were able to take advantage. I thought it was a good win for Seattle. I think that's a game that you need to win.
Sure.
At home against Denver with a rookie quarterback in the opener. But, that doesn't mean I don't give him any credit for it. I thought it was a good, solid win for them.
Gonzo's role in this game. Do you think you'll see him a lot one-on-one with Metcalf? Or
that's how I would, this is another one, the after show yesterday, Everett and I, as we were walking back, I was like, it kind of would make sense to have Gonzalez with Metcalf and Jonathan Jones with Lockett, and then deal with Jackson Smith and Jigba, with the rest, quote unquote. Obviously it starts with Marcus Jones, but the safeties are involved, and you might have more corners involved in this game because they do have three receivers, whereas Cincinnati only had a half of one.
Yeah.
I think they had a little bit of chase, and that was it.
Yep.
So you are going to probably have to do things a little bit differently in the secondary, and I'll be curious to see if they stick with, the sort of Jalen Hawkins back, and because it was kind of GTFB. They made sure everything stayed in front of them.
Yeah.
And then they were really sound because they were swarming to the ball and tackling
they were
so
moving,
well.
Yeah, their first step was
But
good.
just on the surface, I think it makes sense. Gonzalez's size matches up with Metcalf. They don't throw the ball to Metcalf a whole lot. I think he only had 65 catches last year.
Yeah.
He's not a volume guy.
Yeah.
So, this could be one of those games. If you can sort of mitigate Lockett, then I think you'd be all right with the passing game.
Okay.
And
Sean,
make sure that Metcalf doesn't hit you for big plays.
Sean mentioned the score and predictions. I can't believe we did that Madden sim before last game.
Right.
And it predicted the score 17-10, Patriots winning.
So it was wrong. We talked about this yesterday.
Yeah. But they did another one. I told them I don't want to know what the score is. I want to be surprised. So I don't know how it
when
came
did you
out.
turn into a child?
I think
I
it's
don't want to know.
I think it
Don't
was
tell me.
I think it's fun.
It is fun. That's why I don't understand why you don't want to know.
So this could be a thing. I hope that this Madden thing is close every week.
So you don't want it. You don't want to know because if it's
Right.
they
If it's
lose,
the other way,
then you
I don't
think they're going to lose.
I don't want it to cloud my judgment. Right. Or spoil my
Matt,
day.
What am I doing?
Yeah.
Even Matt's rolling his eyes at you.
Matt's a big Madden guy, right?
I'll tell you off air what the score was, Paul.
He knows enough to know that someone will have to tell me.
Okay. All right. I hope that they're not putting their thumb on the scale either. I hope they just let it play out.
I can honestly say they are not. They pop that thing on all Madden and sit back and let the computer do its thing.
Good. Because I want it to be a true sim.
All right, if we're gonna really talk about this like it has some relevance, so I don't play Madden. I don't pretend to know Madden. So you put it in a sim. Did it play the personnel that was available in the game?
So they played this week's game with the roster that played in the Bengals game.
No, that's what I'm saying. So they played Cincinnati with all the guys that they didn't have.
I have to look for
did
this.
the
I'm
sim-
talking about the Seahawks game that they just simmed yesterday for
Right.
next week. They used the lineup of that played everybody that was active
Right,
against
but
them.
when they did the sim for Cincinnati,
did
was
the
it
Cincinnati game take into account?
like T. Higgins in or out?
See, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Off the top of my
Like
head, I
Jamar
don't.
Chase in or out?
or
like
like
that's-
Walker, right? Is he?
Yeah, this game, Kenneth Walker in or out? Like
Yeah.
now, I think Kenneth Walker's going to be in.
Yeah.
I don't know that for sure. I'd be curious. Today's a day that obviously we get some injury updates and whatnot.
Yeah.
But yeah, to me, I find it strange that a sim would have had the Patriots beating a full-strength Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Because, I would think a sim doesn't take into account any of the intangibles.
Right.
Unless I don't know Madden.
I'm going to effort to find the answer.
Cincinnati's not going to, as an example, ESPN does that football power index thing,
Yep.
right? Well, the Bengals had like a 60-something% chance to win. I think it was 68% chance. It was a very high percent. They
Yep.
were the biggest spread of the week. That's not taking into account any intangibles. It's just going strictly off of personnel,
Right.
right? And
I would have think- I
and
would
their
imagine,
models had the Bengals having an overwhelming chance to win.
Yep.
So I'm just curious if the sim for Madden is the same, or if they have the ability to take those guys out that weren't expected to play.
Yeah. Because I imagine it takes into account all their Madden ratings and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. I don't know. Pat Nagawam writes in.
Cousin
He
Patty.
says, I wanted to know how important you rank getting pressure on Geno Smith this Sunday and not letting him get into rhythm. Even if the secondary plays great, this is a great group with Metcalf, Lockett, and Smith and Najigba. I think they're going to make plays regardless of how good the coverage is. So pressuring Geno is paramount to me and should be one of the keys to the game.
Yeah, I would agree. And their offensive line's in shambles already, Seattle's. They're down 3 tackles, and I think that's an area that they can exploit a little bit. But I would put that behind stopping the run because that's what Seattle wants to do.
Yeah.
And if Seattle's able to get Kenneth Walker going and they can throw when they want to instead of when they have to, then obviously that makes the job easier of protecting him. But Pat's right, Cousin Patty, I think you need to get some heat because you can't just cover. You can't just cover against quality receivers.
Yep. Trevor in Revere writes in, do you know how the Seahawks run defense compares to the Bengals? I'm trying to gauge if the same offensive performance by the Patriots against the Seahawks would produce similar results. Obviously, we'd hope for a bit more in the passing game, but I imagine the coaching staff would love to play conservative and focus on the run if the game allows it.
Yeah, last year, like I said, Seattle was bad against the run. In the first game, they were pretty good.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this is a sign of improvement or if they got a good opponent or what.
Yeah.
But I would say they're going to need a lot more than what they got.
Yeah.
You know, like a repeat of what they did against Cincinnati isn't going to be good enough to win most games.
Yeah.
And I know that I'm in the minority, I guess, You know,
Well,
a lot of our colleagues,
a
a lot of our colleagues are like, you know, that they can, if they play that same game, you know, all year, they're going to be in the playoff hunt. I think if they play that same game all year, they're going to be hard pressed to win 5 games.
But if they give up 10 points every week, then
but that's not.
I know.
But that's
I know.
not the same. I'm talking about if you play the same way, like you can play really good defense and still give up 24 points.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the guy doesn't fumble going into the end zone, and the game is totally different.
It's true.
Like,
it is.
This is what I'm saying, and that's not like.
I know.
And the other team, you can't expect the other team to play that badly.
Right.
Like, I know that the Patriots had a lot to do with Cincinnati's offense not looking good because the Patriots' defense was outstanding.
Yeah. But there was some turmoil
but
there.
There are good offenses that are going to overcome your good defense at times.
Sure.
Cincinnati really didn't do that.
Trevor also says...
That's the handsome one.
I'd like Matt, a little post-game suggestion.
Okay.
I'd like Matt on the post-game show so far, but someone has to tell him that the good, the bad, and the injured isn't a race against the clock.
So I've had a talk with Matt a little bit twice now. We do not. Yeah, after
is he an error repeater?
After the preseason game, and then I said it again during the show. The good and the bad and the injured is only interrupted by the player interview, right, Mike? When after a win, when we get a call, and unfortunately we had some cell issues this week with Kyle Duggar, but after a win, we get a call from a player, and sometimes that comes in the middle of good, bad, and the injured. We stop, obviously, whatever we're doing when the player is on the line, and we talk to him. Otherwise, we do not take calls, and we do not do emails during good, the bad, and the injured.
Yeah.
I don't think we ever got to the injured, actually.
We never got to the. We never really got to anything.
Let me ask you a question on the player thing for home games. Are you guys on soon enough where if the guy just walked off the field in his pads, he could be a guest in the studio?
We're on immediately after the game.
Yeah. So should we try to do that?
We would be in here before the players are off the field, I would think. I don't know. Like,
I mean, I know they
you
go.
know my answer.
They go off the far end, and we're over here. But
yeah, that's true too.
But I don't know. That would be cool, right? Just come right off the field, sit here in your pads. You know.
Smelly, but I like it.
Yeah.
It'd be a good visual.
Yeah.
Get the desk. You don't have to put him on one of these chairs.
Deuce is here.
I'm here.
And he just came from
Maybe
the
that
lot.
would mean I could take the segment off. I'm in.
Mike has returned from the locker room. Interviews, gossip, and mood. What is the mood? He goes into the locker room and mingles. Sad because Evan stole his jingle. This is Mike's new song. Mike is back.
All right.
Was that an AI Matt or was that?
That's AI. Okay.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a bustling day down there in the locker room. It seems almost different than last week, though. It seems like there's just so much more going on. I feel like a little bit of throwback my first year, 2019, when it was different scrums going on at the same time, people doing one-on-ones. It was, the last couple of years, it's always been one person's talking, everyone, right to that person. No real side conversations going on. And now it just is a bunch of activity going on everywhere.
Is that because there's just more guys in the locker room?
I think so. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody getting ready for practice, but I mean, Layden Robinson, he's like the mayor over there. I mean, everybody wants to talk to Layden Robinson. I don't know if that's a great thing as a rookie, where just person after person after person coming up to him before the locker room. But yeah, no, pretty good mood. I'd say it felt like
Yeah.
a Wednesday, ready to put the Bengals win behind them and move on to the Seahawks.
Cool. Who did you talk to?
I talked to Joe. I talked to Brendan Schooler a little bit. I was asking him about if he got any award for breaking 22 miles an hour, since everyone was talking about that. But no, just heard from Pop Douglas, Christian Gonzalez, another one who talked. So like I said, there's just so much going on. You kind of have to pick your spots. So, but yeah, everybody seems pretty focused on the Seahawks here as we get into Wednesday. So.
And were you able to catch Gerard Mayo as well as Paul?
I did. I caught him with Paul. Was right next to him.
Sitting right next to
Thoughts?
him.
Fine. I don't know.
Okay.
I mean,
All right.
I don't know. There wasn't. Not a lot to take away. I mean,
There wasn't a lot. I thought.
glad to see that
Same.
we turned the page. It didn't feel like we were still, flexing about the win, and I'd expect that with him. But no, nice message about 9/11 and all that stuff. I thought it was interesting. He brought up quick side story. I think I've told it. Like, he mentioned a couple of the flights came out of Boston, and when I moved to California in August of 1999, I took flight 175, and so I still have the ticket stub from taking that exact flight that ended up flying into one of the World Trade Centers. So I don't know. I always kept that as like a little memento and reminder of just that terrible day.
So the one comment, and I agree with Mike that I didn't. We talked about the press conferences and stuff. I didn't think there was a ton. I didn't think there was a ton there. I don't think my shows will be spending segments talking about Gerard today, like they have at times in the summer. My one thing that I mentioned to Fred, Mike, and I'd be curious to see if you feel the same way. Like, and he's talking about like Ramondre Stevenson. It's like you guys don't know. He's always telling us what we think of guys. Like you guys don't. He might not get the pub that other guys get. And then Kenneth Walker comes up and it's like, I don't know what his Manning rating is, but I'm like, why are you like?
Yeah,
always telling us what we think.
Feeding the outside perspective on the player a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think the outside perspective, certainly on Stevenson in this area, is he's a really good back.
Just got to stay healthy.
He's got to stay healthy. That's it.
Yeah.
Like 2 years ago, he had like 1,100 yards and 67 catches.
Yeah.
Like why? Like no one in New England thinks that he's a stiff.
No, I'd add on too where it was Gerard started to walk down. Like one of his goals is.
Yeah. You know what? I'm not going to
tell you. I'm not going to tell you. So I think that showed a little bit of progress from Gerard, but still I think he still has an inclination to share things that you don't have to share, Gerard. You don't even have to.
Do you get the feeling that if someone said, Gerard, what were some of the goals that Ramondre Stevenson had right after that he probably would have just said it?
Well, I was
you're pressing me on it.
Right. Well, I thought they were going to go right into Ramondre in the locker room and be like, what are your goals, in life, in the football season generally?
Just so you know, that would be called being a reporter.
I didn't go to J school,
That
Paul.
is what
I don't know
should
these
have
things.
done.
Questions and talking to people, but yeah, it was I thought Brissett was fine too. I like that they're talking about throwing the ball more. I think that it's just.
I think they know that's was kind of a rarity.
I've seen my word pop up a lot this week. My sustainability pop up. Saw Tommy Kern, doing a little of that. I wrote in the mailbag. That was, one of my title. I think it's obvious what this team needs to do. It was a nice win. You threaded the needle. You didn't turn the ball over. You were able to run the ball and run out the clock. That's awesome. We all know that that's a really hard way to live and that they're going to have to start producing explosive plays to offset the mistakes that are just going to happen. That's the NFL. They're going to be turnovers. There's going to be a dumb penalty here or there. I mean, as long as they're not a litany of them that you can't overcome, but they have to develop that explosive element to their offense for sure.
Let's see. We'll go to the TPX hotline, 855-PATS-500. Eldred is on the line, and he says he's a Madden guy. What's up, Eldred? Eldred.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey.
Yes.
Okay, Paul.
Yes, sir.
They update the roster, and if your guys got injury, they don't play. You can't put them in the lineup, even doing simulation.
Yeah, no, I just was wondering what we did when we did the simulation. Like the Patriots, Fred was telling us the Patriots had a 17-10 win in the sim. Like, was that including T. Higgins, or did we take him out? Is that including Jamar Chase, or did we take him
According to
out?
Matisse, Bengals were at full strength. Chase played, but we mentioned he had contract disputes. Higgins did not catch a pass.
Yeah, I think
You weren't supposed to do it that way.
later in the week is hard.
Hey, my question is, like I said, I'm happy for the win and everything, but do you think they're going to – I know they can't do too much now, but those tackles they got, you think they're trying to work them in? So especially those big guys, that 6'9" or that 6'7" guys?
The one off waivers?
Yes.
Yeah, I would doubt it, but we'll see.
No.
We'll see. These guys are going to be here for at least 2 more weeks, and we'll see if they progress enough to earn playing time. But I find that to be a short odds on that.
Yeah.
We're talking about the defensive guy they signed.
No, the
yesterday?
tackle.
Oh, the big tackle.
Offensive guy.
He's huge.
Offense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one.
No,
Okay.
I don't think you're going to see him. If you do, it's because everything else isn't working. So let's, or he just shows enough in practice. But I don't see that happening.
No, I mean, I think it's more about you see what positions they're concerned about. I mean, they brought in a bunch of outside offensive linemen. They just signed this kid. I'm not sure if I don't think it's Jacqueline. Is it Jay Quellen?
Yes.
Jay Quellen. which reminds me, of course, of the
It's
Key and
spelled like
Peele,
Jacqueline,
the
though.
Key and Peele sketch. Jake Quellen.
Yes.
Jake Quellen Roy. But another, they signed some defensive linemen. They signed some offensive linemen. I think that those are positions we talked about throughout camp, that there's some uncertainty there. There's maybe a lack of proven depth, and I think it's just good due diligence to continue to focus on those players as they, move into the season.
agree,
Just keep trying
'cause
to
you
turn it
never
over,
know
try to
where-
find somebody.
I
They brought
couldn't
in a
agree
guard.
more.
They let the guard go to sign the defensive tackle, and if you do this all season long, maybe you find a gem. We've seen it happen. It's not very common, but you've seen it happen.
It's a good
where
way
these
to
guys
find
come in.
depth at the very least.
Yep.
I agree with you, Mike.
Will writes in. He said the Patriots win on Sunday was one of the more enjoyable and positive moments of the last few years. I was so happy. I know we gave Mayo a hard time for all the corporate speak, which reminded me more of my nonprofit work than football. But it's nice to have a coach that I feel I can relate more to. Maybe that is corny. I don't know.
So he's still doing a little of that, by the way. What did he throw out there? Imposter syndrome today?
Yeah.
Still got a little of that going.
Also, shout out to Evan for AFR. I really enjoy reading it on Mondays.
Yeah, I do wonder, because if this was last year's team and they won that way with Belichick, people would have called it a fake win.
Yeah.
Like my shows would have said that's a fake win. But I wonder how much of it, with the newness of Mayo, and he is really, I love the way he's more relatable.
Yeah,
Well,
but
when
see,
you-
if that's changing
I
things.
disagree with that. I think Belichick would have got credit because, he did it with Jacoby Brissett, and this is how he had to do it.
And I'm just
See how
telling
he
you
adjusts.
that a lot of people would have made fun of it.
No.
Like that's what he did. What adjusts?
Adjust.
They ran the ball every play.
No, I know, but
Adjusts.
you had to.
They would have made fun of him and used Mike's sustainability
Well,
question.
I'm just saying, if Belichick had to win a game with Jacoby Brissett, that's what you would expect from Belichick.
But I'm just saying. I said last year's team wins that same game,
Oh, okay.
and everybody would have said that's not sustainable. This is how he wants to win every game. 17-13. I would have said it.
Right.
yeah.
I'm not calling anybody else out.
Well,
I
you
would
mean
have
with
said
Mac Jones as the quarterback?
I don't care who the quarterback
Well, no,
is.
it does
That's
matter.
how he wants to
It-
play.
no.
He played exactly that game. He played exactly the way he tried to play the last 3 years with Mac Jones.
Here I am
No.
defending Bill Belichick again.
No,
I think that
Can
Bill,
he talk?
Oh,
No,
go ahead.
No, Fred, you're on a roll.
No, I think Bill Belichick is known for adjusting depending on the situation and adapting to not just the opponent, but what's going on with
he
our
was
team.
known for that.
Yeah.
He wasn't known for that the 3 years that Mac Jones was his quarterback.
I
What do you
know,
got now, Mike?
but maybe that, and if Bill was here, he'd probably, and being honest, he'd probably tell you that's all we could do.
I just think it's Bill Belichick had an established championship, pedigree, and you're held to that standard. The standard that Mayo was being held to was that these guys might not win a game this year. This might be the worst team in the league.
I agree.
And that's why you
I
get
agree.
credit for it when you show that you can even just put everybody's pulling in the same direction. You're not killing yourself. It looks like a well-coached team. If it goes to Mayo, who hasn't done anything, it's a feather in his cap. If it's Belichick, it's like, well, where's the 400 and 500 yards of offense, Bill? Like, we can't do it
I
this way.
totally agree.
That's
exactly how I
see it.
felt. Like this, it would have been perceived so differently.
Yeah, I mean,
And I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying it would have been perceived differently.
And it's just the bottom line is whether it was Bill's team or Gerard's team, they have to
like
be
if
better
you
than
heard
this. They have to
anybody
be,
really say how bad Cincinnati was Sunday.
Not really.
Last year, that's all you. If it
Yeah.
was, if Bill was here, that's all you would have heard was, they didn't even want to be there. Higgins didn't play. Chase was a shell of himself. The defense couldn't stop the same play. Oh, did we hear that? Maybe sometime. Maybe in Buffalo in the win game. How bad is Sean McDermott? He couldn't stop the same play. Like,
Yeah.
that's what people would have said.
Yeah.
But I think you're absolutely right. It should be looked at differently because we're not holding Mayo to the Belichick standard of,
there's no standard.
you
don't know what it
15
is.
wins away from the all-time winningest coach.
I mean, if it had looked like Carolina's game did,
Right.
You're like, like
we'd be killing them.
right, and that's you
He's
don't know
not
what
ready.
to expect. But I will say one thing I have seen that I didn't really catch during the game was like a super cut of all the Joe Burrow
Oh, yeah.
wrist stuff the whole game. Like
Yeah,
I mean,
they
they
were
just-
showing it on the bench.
I didn't clock it during the game, but I mean, he's clearly still working through stuff. And I mean, again, it's funny because we spent the whole week talking like, well, he's finally healthy. His slow starts. Like, I mean, he's banged up again. You know?
Fred had a good one.
Yeah.
Well,
Andrew
I
Luck.
just wonder for other reasons if he'll be what Andrew Luck was for the Colts, he'll be for the Bengals. elite talent that just gets wasted.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, I hope not. I mean, Andrew Luck got beat up, right? I mean, he did injuries
And he had the wrist surgery, and he clearly didn't trust his ability to throw the ball outside the numbers. Evan talked about it a lot yesterday, and I think the proof is in the pudding. He didn't really try to throw the ball downfield or outside very often.
No.
Micah from South Dakota.
Parsons.
After looking at how the other rookie quarterbacks did on Sunday and how our offensive line pass blocked, I'm glad Drake May is starting the season on the bench. The so-called ready rookie quarterbacks played pretty bad. Caleb Williams looked like 2020 Cam Newton throwing for less than 100 yards. I also think that Jacoby moving forward will be better than he was on Sunday in terms of throwing the ball down the field. Now on to Seattle, 2-0. Here we come.
I think the energy is going to be pretty good this weekend. I mean, that's one bonus of winning the first game on the road and then, coming in here. I mean, it's been a tough go. I mean, the last time this team played on this field, they lost to the Jets. I mean, for the first time in 18 games. So I'm excited for the atmosphere. I think Patriot fans are going to come. It's supposed to be a beautiful day. It's a team you don't really get to see a lot. So
I wonder, and I don't know this, so I'm not like playing coy, if there will be any difference in how the opening introductions are done with the new regime. If
I'm sure there will be. I just don't know if it'll be the same as preseason or if they'll.
Well, no, I'm sure whatever if they are going to do changes, they would not unveil it in preseason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we won't hear it because we're in the silent press box. I have no idea what's going on. I don't even know there's a giant screen up there. It's just like, man,
they could do something like entirely different, and you could tell me that's exactly what they've done every game, and I would have no idea. I don't know how they come out.
It's like even the flyover, you just feel
like I know they used to play Crazy
second.
Train, and I guess we're not doing that anymore, right?
Oh, I didn't know. There you go. I didn't know that.
Well, I thought that's what they said in the preseason games. They weren't playing Crazy Train.
Well, they had like what is that? Is it Carmina Burana?
Yeah, they've always played that.
That one.
That starts
one,
it out.
That
Then it goes into Crazy Train. Yeah.
Oh, I was told that they weren't playing that in the preseason.
All right, so probably.
But Mike and I are in here.
Yeah.
So I didn't hear it. I mean, I'm like in the Bob's Discount Furniture Studios.
They did like the Lil Jon mix of it, I think, in the preseason.
Yeah.
It was like a Let's Go version of that. So I don't know if that'll stick or if I don't know. In-game.
I couldn't tell you what they normally do, so I'm not going to be able to tell you what they're doing now.
I hope they stick to being introduced as a team. No, I'm being serious.
Yeah.
I don't want to go to the individual intros. I want to stay.
The teams still do that?
I don't know. I have no frame of reference, Donnie.
Oh, they did?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Every guy came out. Chase was second to last. Burrow was last.
Do they alternate defense, offense every week? Weekly,
I don't know
teams like that? No.
if they do, but they did the offense. I think what you do is
completely irrelevant.
Whoever is your best player, that's the side of the ball that you introduce, because you want to get the fans riled up. You want to get them.
Which side would you introduce for the Patriots?
Right now?
Defense.
Yeah, I guess I'd do defense, but who's your last player to come out? Who's the guy?
Peppers.
Oh yeah, Paul.
I just think he's like their emotional guy. He's like their emotional
leader. He is,
leader.
but in terms of star power, it kind of underscores what's lacking
that's
here.
That's where we got to stay as a team.
Yeah.
Well,
you don't have that superstar that you wait to
just
last.
off the top of my head, you guys have obviously given this stuff a lot more thought than I ever have. I
This is
couldn't
off the
tell
top
you.
of my head.
I didn't even know that we didn't do the same thing that everybody else does anymore. Like I knew that was a
didn't know
thing
that.
in 2001. I didn't realize that we still did that.
In Everett, they don't have introductions when you were in high school.
You run out high school. You run out like a loop that
The
the cheerleaders
got
make.
the thing, knocks you over.
Yeah, every once in a while, you get the little kids like in Pop Warner. They go out and they can't break through the paper and they get knocked back. Good times.
Oh,
Good times.
I love it.
Josh is in Dallas on the TPX hotline. What's up, Josh?
Hey, guys. Great to have football back and 3 shows a week. Love it. Just as a fan, it was a great game to watch on Sunday. First game, as you guys have said, in a couple years that I felt like I couldn't get up from my couch. I just wanted to watch. And I was looking at this week's slate of games, and I think we all agree that the Patriots, thoroughly outplayed the Bengals. The Bengals did not look ready to play. So when I say this, please do not come at me because I don't think it's necessarily true, but could be a factor. I didn't realize that the Bengals are playing the Chiefs this week, and I hadn't heard anybody talk about if there was maybe any consideration to thinking that they could come in with a maybe more vanilla game plan against the Patriots, just having on paper more talent. And then just kind of circling that Chiefs game week 2 since it's always competitive and they kind of need to pull out all the stops. So, again, I think the defense played really well. I love the way that Covington spun the dial, as you guys had said. But I just wondered from maybe the All-22 and those kind of things if there were some concepts that they shied away from saving for next week and didn't expect the Pats to come out and finish them off like they did. Thanks, guys.
I mean, there could be a little looking ahead. You know, if it was the 49ers, it would be more vanilla because they're in their division, but not showing the Chiefs stuff. I don't know. What?
What did you just say?
Oh, I'm thinking about the Seahawks. Never mind. I'm thinking about the Seahawks.
I don't think it had anything to do with game plan.
No,
but you could make an
maybe
argument.
Overlooked them a little
Make
bit.
an argument they got a big game next week and they're caught sleeping, but that doesn't even hold water to me. It's the opener.
Exactly. It's your opening game.
And with the offense,
No, I was
they
thinking
were
the Seahawks and the 49ers.
They were in survival mode with the offense, without Higgins and limited chase. I mean, they were just trying to piece it together. I don't think they were in a position to hide things.
The only excuse I'll allow for Cincinnati, if you want to call it, is that their personnel wasn't really available.
Right.
That they're built on.
And Burrow was hurt.
Yeah.
I mean, that doesn't mean he played well. He played like crap. And I like Joe Burrow. I think he's really, really good. Certainly, he's one of my top 5 in the league. But you have to call it the way it is. Like, the Patriots made him look bad, and he played like crap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He certainly didn't overcome the fact that he didn't have.
Right. I've seen
Higgins
Mahomes win that game.
Right. And Brady.
I've seen Josh Allen win that game.
Right.
He couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And he really didn't come close. Let's call it I think Josh is right. Patriots controlled the game.
Yeah.
That last 3 and out that they had, that was jarring to me. I was like, here it comes. Here comes a drive. We're going to have to make a stop.
I would have bet everything. Not that they would score, but that they would move 50 or 60 yards and get in position to score.
Teams always do, right? You never feel like it's just automatic
it's like in the NBA.
Out, right?
Teams always make a run.
I know. That's what was in my head. Was like, we're going to have to make a stop in the end zone. That's how they're going to have to win this game. It's going to come down to the last play, and then all of a sudden they're punting, and then the 3 plays just look so disjointed and
non-competitive.
It almost snowballed on the Bengals because I feel like the Patriots. Everyone's like, they controlled the line of scrimmage. I felt like they really controlled it the first quarter. Those first 3 and outs. And then after that, it kind of settled in. It was a little more back and forth. A couple key moments, the 4th down stop that, swung the result. But I don't know. I was surprised. Credit to the Patriots defense. They had them in a blender by the end, I guess.
Cody in West Virginia. Yesterday, I saw the CBS sideline reporter mention Drake May getting 30% of the first team reps this week. With Brissett still starting, will that affect how he plays on game day? I would imagine.
I hadn't seen that.
I didn't hear that.
I don't know.
How do we know he didn't get 30% last week too?
I mean,
isn't that normal for the backup quarterback?
I think that's what the report was during the game. I would say. Right?
I didn't know.
But I didn't see that. I have no idea what normal would be for the backup quarterback.
Yeah, I mean 30%, 70%
seems high to me.
High?
Yeah, first team reps.
Yeah,
for the backup quarterback.
And the other guy,
I tell you right now, Drew Bledsoe got 0.
And the other guy's getting 70%.
Yeah, when it was Brady and Bledsoe got 0% of the first team reps.
Well, he was hurt.
No, when he came back, and Bill made the comment about we're going with Brady for the foreseeable future. That's what that was. And how are you expecting to get your job back if you can't get any reps?
Yeah, I mean, if it's true.
Well, you're supposed to answer, Drew.
Oh, sorry.
How do you expect to get your job back if you... Next question.
Sorry, I didn't realize we were playing the hits.
It was a famous exchange between Paul Perillo and Drew Bledsoe in 2001.
So wait, you asked that question?
No, I don't know what the normal...
I told you I didn't always just sit around...
The big J right on your head.
I didn't always just sit around and let these other noobs do all the work.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what the normal backup reps with first teams are.
I don't either.
But I'm hoping that whatever it is, May does get a little bit more than that.
I was just going to say.
I think that's key. Not to just have him handling the scout team.
Yeah.
I think it's important that he's running the Patriots offense.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil it, but maybe we should run it by Fred before we actually produce it. But Evan did talk to Drake May today and asked him about his week and what he did, and got some really interesting stuff about just. Nothing specific like rep breakdowns, but specifically what Drake did last week as we went into the regular season. So Evan was pretty excited about it. We might have to make sure it's copacetic before we put it out, but it was sounding like he got some good stuff from Drake.
Okay. David writes in, he's from Madrid. I was shocked, he said, in a good way, about the few amount of penalties the team had in week 1. mainly after that last preseason game. Do we think that's an anomaly, or are they actually disciplined? I mean,
We'll see.
it's week one.
My guess is it was like right now. If I have to guess between one of those two things, I would say it's an anomaly based on every other day that I've seen them play so far, counting practice.
I mean, is it? I don't know. That's always a question that I have universally: is how much of training camp is a lie? How much what you're seeing is true or not true? You know, and I have to say, like, mostly looking back, especially the last couple of years, keeping notes on the practices. There's a lot of truth. There's a lot of truth in training camp.
Training camp, I think, is pretty true. The
you know,
preseason games can be lies.
Yeah.
That's why I don't really put a whole lot of stock at all. I put no stock really in preseason performance. I mean, look at the young quarterbacks.
No, I
The
know.
young quarterbacks. I mean, people were gushing over Bo Nix. He looked like he's never been on the field before. That's not a slam on Bo Nix. That's what these rookie quarterbacks should look like when they play against good competition.
Yeah, what was Mac Jones's? That was at the Jets. The
Mac
opener
Jones's
against the Jets.
Mac Jones's first attempt in the NFL, he threw backwards to
The
John
wrong way. Yeah.
And so much of what Bo Nix did looked the same
the
as Mac
helmet
on the back, like the
sideways.
back foot. Like, I think it's there. It's not NFL open even close. You know, chucking it off his back foot, and guys are picking it off easily.
Todd and Garner writes in, I'm curious as to how much passing you each feel needs to be added to the offensive game plan and the something in the type. Do we need to stretch the field or throw sideline to empty the box to help the run game? Should we be using screens and quick hitters to lessen the pass rush getting to Jacoby? Love the show. Looking forward to a great game this weekend. Blah, blah, blah.
All of that. I mean, they need it all.
I like the quick hitters. There was a good zone. There was a good blitz beater early in the game, I think, to Hooper.
Yep.
I want to say, just really good stuff. That's why Brissett's in there. It's one of those plays like.
Well, that's like
I'm not sure it looks the same.
This
if
is
Drake
becoming the
May's there.
pattern, though, is that every time there's an all-out blitz and Jacoby's able to just dump it off to his hot read, they're like, that's why we got him.
But that's the play.
That's
like, I am not willing to just blindly say, like, well, Brissett wins the game and May wouldn't have. Like, I think if May was forced to run around and improvise and make plays, they might have been more explosive.
Yeah.
I'm not just blindly saying they wouldn't have scored 16 points if May played.
Is that who's saying that?
A lot of people have used that. Well, that's why they made the right decision in starting Brissett. That's been, I mean, it was constant during the game on Twitter.
Yeah.
Like Patriots Twitter during the game had a lot of that.
I think the encouraging thing for me, though, is that you've seen a lot of places, and not just Evan and Taylor and those guys, but plays are open. You know, their guys are open. There are things like it's functional offense. It's not like nobody's open, like there's nowhere to go. You know, I'd rather have guys open and we're just not quite hitting them or
It
understanding.
depends on who
yet.
you ask.
Yeah, I mean,
I've seen you know, I know now Gerard said today that he felt like they had some guys open.
Yeah. Most of what I've seen, I mean,
so maybe if May played, they would have scored 30.
Right.
Like, I can play in fantasy land. If I can't be proven wrong, I'll tell you what you know what I mean?
I just
There's
don't
no
even,
way of knowing.
I don't even need to jump to the May comparison. It's just after seeing uncoordinated offenses and guys who cannot get away from coverage, you're seeing some of that, you know, and they're not connecting on it yet, so they have to actually you know, make it productive. But regardless of May, it's just all right. It seems like there's an offense there. Guys are open. It's coordinated. You know, they know where they're going. So that, you know, I think that's a good sign. Again, though, they got to execute.
I agree, and I think that, you know, Brissett missed some throws too that I don't think really got much attention. I think a lot of the mistakes get covered up when you win. And I think some of these things would have been, you know, illustrated a little bit
if they
more
had lost.
If they had lost.
Burrow had come down the end of the game and scored a touchdown, Bengals win, we'd be talking about the stuff that the offense left on the table that they weren't able to do.
I think Mayo used that line very early in his press conference. We felt like we left a lot of plays out.
Yeah.
It's just funny because things are completely falling apart in Carolina after one game, you know, and here we are, proof of concept. You know, it's one extreme or the other. You lose the game, it's, oh my God, what are they, you know, and
as frustrating as it is, Mike, it's kind of what makes the NFL great.
Yeah.
Is the gross overreactions week to week. Yeah. They're 1 week like soap operas.
You don't have that game the next day to wash away the taste of the game before.
Like,
you know,
we'll go to the fun baseball team in town. They
Only 4 games out.
that's all.
There's a path.
And by the way, behind 2 other teams.
And there's,
that no
only,
one talks
and there's
about.
only 20 games left.
Oh, there's not that many left.
Really?
So they beat Baltimore 12-3. Right? I do, because I want them to spend money and try to put the best team they can. And I think making the playoffs would send
I
a
know.
bad message to John Henry.
Okay.
Anyway, that's
Okay.
I can't be any more honest than that.
He's altruistic.
No, I want the team to be good.
I know. Okay.
So
Continue.
they win
Proceed.
12-3. They beat Baltimore on Monday night. They may have found their way. Like
Right.
This is what I'm reading
Right.
on Twitter.
And
like,
then they lose the next night.
and then the next night, to Fred's point, you don't have to wait a week.
Yeah.
You don't have a week to debate that they found their way. If the
Right.
next night you come out, the bats are silent again, you lose 5-3, and you'll drop another game back. You have another team flip you. Detroit got ahead of them.
Yep.
And all of a sudden it's like, oh, woe is me. Whereas in the NFL, you have a whole week
Yeah.
to argue whether or not
It's
it's sustainable.
it's the beauty of it.
You know what I
I-
mean?
I-
That's what makes the NFL great.
I think that's what I was happy about after the win, was just like, wow, this is going to be a nice week. Like, what does this mean in the broad? I don't know, but like, this is going to be a nice week. I mean, but there was also, we were talking about, well, now we're going to get blawed by these guys and stuff, so I enjoy it. It's just so much more fun when they win.
No, I mean Parcells used to talk about it. You lose that game and you want to throw up in your mouth, and it just
Food
ruins
doesn't
everything.
taste as good.
Yeah, but if you win the game, then you're riding high.
I love the saying that's like, winning doesn't feel as good as losing feels bad. Something along those
Yeah.
lines. But
And
you know what I
that's
mean?
a
Like,
lot of the greats say that.
it
Well,
hangs over you like all
and
week.
That's the other thing. I know it's all the pro athletes and all the sports put in a lot of work, but a lot of work is put into a football game.
Yeah.
It's I know some teams make it look easy, the Mahomeses and all, but it's hard to win in the NFL, and a lot of work is put into every game. So when you win that game, it's like almost a relief, like
Yeah.
and when you lose that game, it's
Put all that work.
And I don't like the
Yeah.
guy, but did you hear Jim Harbaugh after the game?
No.
Like he won his first game, obviously back with the Chargers, and he's just like, it's really hard.
yeah.
These wins are really hard to get in the NFL.
This is
And
why
I don't like him, but he's absolutely right.
This is why I was so upset with Josh McDaniels in Denver. Like, he knows what it takes to lose or win a football game in this league and how
Right.
bad it feels to lose a game.
Yeah, get off the bus.
And he's out
What's
there.
the maddest, Mike? You've been here since 19.
I've been madder.
What's
than
the
that.
maddest that you've ever seen, Fred? Can you recall?
Oh, man. That's a good question.
Because
Andy,
I would
Andy had to be part
Yeah,
of
it's
it.
probably the
wasn't-
clips.
That wasn't
It's probably
really
the
football.
clips
That's
that-
probably the answer.
Yeah.
But that's not football related. The post game bus in Denver in 09
It's all-time
is
Fred
definitely
Kirsch.
one of the top 3
Oh yeah.
for Fred.
I mean, like, I don't want to say like Josh meant to be disrespectful, but I think he just
mad.
lost he lost his mind for a second, understanding that I know they're my ex teammates and all that stuff, but they're hurting right now, and they don't want to see me come over to their bus, whooping it up and
Hugging everybody.
Yeah.
So me
let's-
and Andy started out. We're all on the bus.
Oh,
right? We're all on bus
so
5,
mad.
right? And me and Andy start as Fred's like, he goes, look at this. What is he doing over here?
Right.
What's
Then
he
you
doing
guys
over
got to
here?
rile each other up, right?
So
Yeah.
when Andy and I originally are like, well, Fred, what's he supposed to do? Like, he's not supposed to be happy. He's just coming over, like, whatever.
Yeah.
And then it went on for like another 5 minutes, and finally me and Andy were like, I ain't saying nothing. He's kind of right now, and he's ready to explode. Because even it got to the point where even Andy and I were like, all right, Josh, go back on your sideline.
I think I might have even wrote about it in the next issue.
I'm sure you did.
yeah.
Wow,
The old edit letter.
Yeah.
I was
yeah,
upset.
kicking it off.
I was upset. But you know what? It would have been better if I had a Bud Light, because they're so easy to drink and they're easy to enjoy. Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the New England Patriots. And I have a new message from our friends at Bob's Furniture.
What might that
Is
be?
this directed to me like yesterday's was?
Maybe I'll
Okay.
send this
Oh, sure.
to Juice because
Okay.
he's more of a party person.
That's right.
Are you looking to kick off your season with some epic game day watch parties?
Hell yeah.
Become a championship host
Okay.
with Bob's Discount Furniture Fall Dining Lookbook. I've never heard of a lookbook before. Shop party-ready styles perfect for any home, whether you're looking for small space-friendly sets, seating options that will keep you comfy during overtime, or extendable sets ideal for hosting a full lineup of friends. You can even choose from multiple heights, shapes, and colors to match your game day vibe. So stop in and see how much you can save when you dare to compare with Bob's Discount Furniture, the official furniture store of the New England Patriots. I'm going to have to figure out what a lookbook is. All right, we'll be right back. More calls and emails after this. Whether you're in the game or betting on the game, you'll need a game plan. DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the New England Patriots, provides you with everything you need to build your personal betting game plan so you can get in on all the action while practicing safe bets. Visit DraftKings.com/responsible-gaming to learn more about all the safe betting tools DraftKings has to offer. Hope is here, 800-327-5050 or gamblinghelplinema.org. Must be 21 plus. Play it smart from the start. GameSenseMA.com. Physically present in Massachusetts. See DraftKings.com/responsible-gaming for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources.
Isn't it time to get exactly what you want? Welcome to Red Hot Deal Days from Verizon, where you get your pick of our best deals. Like My Plan, where you can pick the perks you want and save on every one. For limited time, bring your own phones to a Verizon store and you can get My Plan for our best price ever. Get exactly what you want in your phone plan and only pay for what you need. Bring your phones to your Verizon store today and get My Plan. These deals won't last. It's your Verizon.
When someone accidentally threw away the school play costumes,
Oh no.
replacements were shipped with FedEx. And with picture proof of delivery, everyone could focus on the perfect opening night. FedEx, where now meets next. For residential delivery only.
First of all, just a day of remembrance for 9/11, to all the servicemen, first responders. Once again, just letting them know that we appreciate them. And, kind of talked about it this morning in the squad meeting, and it was like a reminder of how old I'm getting, that we have people in the squad room that didn't live that experience. But everyone in here did live that experience, and we remember where we were during that experience, and I don't want that to go unnoticed. Secondly, I would say, just to wrap up last week before we get on to Seattle, I do think it's important to recognize some of the players that may not get all the stories written about them or anything like that, but we have practice players of the week. And I tell the guys every week that the process is important, and the practice players, they make sure they do a good job going out there, giving us a good look and preparing us for the game. And so after going forward, after wins, only after wins, we'll have a list of practice players. So for this week, it was Eric Johnson, O'Shawn Mathis, Joe Giles Harris, A.J. Thomas, Joe Milton, Keyshawn Boutte, Mitch Wilcox, and Curtis Jacobs. Thought those guys went out there and gave us a good look and gave us a chance to win the football game.
Going back to your first statement, what are your thoughts on Joe Cardona and what he does on and off the field?
I have nothing but love and respect for Joe. I actually had him go up and speak to the team, and when that happened, what he talked about was, when that happened, just the rallying of all the, let's say, 18-year-olds that really are like, we got to sign up and join the military and really protect our nation. Look, Joe has two jobs. He has two jobs, and football is the second one. The first one is as a serviceman, to serve our country. And I think all the players in the locker room understand, how tough it is for him. And at the same time, have a great appreciation for everything he does.
Gerard, can we go down that road a little further? I take it you were probably in high school at the time.
Yeah, so I was in school. I just remember everyone having to go to the cafeteria, and they just turned on the TVs, and it was crazy. I'm a military brat-ish. My grandfather was a chief master sergeant. My mom's in the military as a civilian. My stepdad's also in the military, so I understand and understood what was going on. At the same time, it was one of those things where you just feel like you're in a dream and don't really, you don't think it's real. I will say there is significance even here in the Northeast. I think one of the flights actually took off from Boston. Both of them took off from Boston. Okay, yeah, so definitely significant here in this region.
Gerard, you mentioned your age just in that opening statement, which was very thoughtful, but going up against Mike McDonald, another young rookie coach over in Seattle, have you guys crossed paths much? Have you been able to discuss coming from similar defensive backgrounds or anything along those lines?
I mean, it's a short answer. No, we haven't had any conversations. I've had conversations with other coaches around the league, but I haven't had the privilege to meet with Mike.
Obviously, Mike led one of the better defenses in the league last year in Baltimore. As you study them, their system, what kind of stands out about the way they like to play?
Yeah, I mean, everyone is a threat. When we talk about known rushers, it's really the unknown rushers that make that Baltimore defense special. Like, you don't know who's coming. They drop out defensive ends. They do things that are very similar to some of the things that we do as well. The zone blitzing and protecting the deep part of the field. And historically, they've always had a good defense, and they have a bunch of good players. So, yeah.
You said after the game, some cool players shouting to take the field in the fourth quarter. Is that something you've heard before? And just your reaction to
No, that was the players, and we talked about artificially creating adversity during practice, and one of those ways is to go to the hill after a 2-hour and 15-minute practice where, you go one or two ways. One way is like, oh, man, I got to go to the hill. And the other way is, all right, we got to bust down through this wall and push our bodies. Because most of the time, and I tell the guys this all the time, like, your mind is going to give up before your body gives up. And so being able to do that and go to the hill or take them to the deep water, as we like to say, because we do have a lot of faith in our conditioning and what we've gone throughout the week and throughout the summer, the guys just started saying, like, most people say, oh, fourth quarter, they were like, take them to the hill. And I love it. I love it. And that was from the players.
Gerard?
Sorry, the hill?
Yeah, I think you did.
Yeah, I did. And one thing I would say is, at least from my perspective, it was always one of those times where I'm just going to prove everybody wrong anyway. In college, I remember in college making coaches so mad because in college what they would do, like say someone was late, they would get the whole team up and we would have to run and all that stuff. And that one guy wouldn't run. Right. And so I used to make the coaches mad because I would just keep running and I would be laughing the entire time. But being able to do that in tough times is definitely a good thing.
Gerard, what did
Javon Baker, he was a healthy scratch on Sunday. Was that disciplinary at all, or can you just shed some light on that?
I don't want to get into a lot of that. What I will say is, he just has to continue to progress and continue to develop, both on the field and off the field, and that's my responsibility ultimately.
Gerard, what did Seattle show you offensively that has your eye on Sunday?
Yeah, I know. Most of the time we always talk about the quarterback first and foremost, which they have an experienced quarterback. What I would say is just the run game. I think Kenneth, he doesn't get a lot of hype. I don't know what his Madden rating is or anything like that, but when you turn on the film, like, this guy pops off the film, and he's a very aggressive runner. He can do it all. And then you look at the receivers, different skill sets. There's a huge contrast between Lockett and Metcalf, but they have a good team. They have a good offense.
Gerard, how difficult is it to game plan against a team that only has one game of film, like with the coaching staff?
I mean, this is why I always preach about awareness. I mean, it kind of goes back to that conversation, and you guys will probably get tired of me saying it. But these games go back to awareness. It's about, you can watch the film, and at some point during the game, they will revert back to what, who they are. Now, in saying that, most teams script the first 15 plays as key breaking type of plays, or to get the ball in the hands of one of the guys that has to get started early. Same thing in the second half. So, you take the first 15 plays that are scripted to break the tendencies that we've watched on film. And this is why awareness, in my opinion, is more important than 60% of the time when they're in the gun, they're doing this. 60-40 is like, can't play like that.
And now, great moments in history.
So I do the thing where you see somebody in their car, they're about to leave, so you pull over, put your signal on, and you sit there. So this guy in a big Tesla comes up right in front of me, starts giving me the hands, like, what? I'm like, motion, go around. He's like, he wouldn't do it. He wouldn't go around. Finally, he decides, I'll go around. So he goes around, but then he decides to do a pull-up, roll-down. He pulls up next to me.
Imagine that, he pulls the pull-up, roll down.
He does a pull-up, roll down, and pulls down the window. So he starts talking to me, and I just say, keep effing driving, just like that. He had the kids in the back seat. I don't care. But I just said, keep effing. He goes, well, we'll talk later. I go, no, we won't. but
ended it.
That was it.
That's another great moment from
All right, back here on Patriots Unfiltered, 855-PATS-500 is the TPX hotline. Web radio at patriots.com is the email address. It's Deuce, Paul, myself, Matt in the booth. Evan will be by later. We get a couple phone calls, and I do want to talk about something we touched on yesterday. We didn't get to it, was reviews of Tom's first game as a color analyst. But let's take these calls, and then we'll get to that. Helen is in San Francisco. What's up, Helen?
Gentlemen, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great. Sunday's unexpected win put me over the moon, so I am calling to seek your perspective to bring me back down to earth. What are aspects of the team that fans are worrying about that they shouldn't be worrying about? And what are aspects of the team that fans seem unconcerned about that they should be concerned about?
Okay.
Thank you.
That's a good one. So what are they worried about that they shouldn't be worried about, and what aren't they worried about that they should be?
Ooh, that's a tough question because I feel like the things they are worried about are what they should be worried about, like the offensive line and,
Okay, so should they be
I got
worried right now about when Drake May should play?
Perfect. That's a perfect one.
Okay.
And there was a lot of that.
Yeah.
People saying, like, should this accelerate Drake May coming back?
Yeah.
Does it slow it down?
Should we not worry
Don't
about
worry
it?
about when Drake
Let
May
the coaches
plays.
figure that out.
Don't worry about when Drake
Not
May
yet.
plays.
Not yet.
And what are we worried about?
Mike's got one.
I got
He
one.
doesn't let you
I got
talk,
one.
Mike.
sorry.
He doesn't
I'm
let
on
you
the
talk.
sorry. I'm
No,
sorry.
I would say pass rush. I would say the pass rush. I think everybody, and myself, great game. Keon White, nice job. But the overall effectiveness of the pass rush, I don't. That's something to me that really worries me. If they can't scheme it up and they're not getting guys home, I think the
So
pass rush
you're
is.
saying that people
aren't worried about
it,
pass
but
rush.
they
They're
should
thinking
be.
we got Keon White's
But
an
they
all
should
pro and
be.
that everything's going to be fine.
Okay.
Worry about the pass rush.
Okay.
Worry about the pass rush. Yeah, I worry. I don't know. Like, I worry about me. I worry about everything. Like, I don't necessarily think the offensive line is as big a concern as a lot of people have it to be, but I think it's a huge concern.
You know what?
So, like, I can't.
You know what?
I mean?
It made total sense.
You know what I'm not worried about right now, but I should be, is what if David Andrews gets hurt? I'm not thinking about it because I don't want to. Now I am.
I would say depth in general
Yeah.
is right. I
Yeah.
think because
Depth.
I don't think they have a lot of depth on that team.
Yeah.
Devon Godshaw, if he got hurt, that's
Yeah.
huge.
So it's out of my mind, but maybe I should be a little bit more worried about it. But that's a good question, Helen. And thank you for that. Cameron is in North Carolina. Cam, what's up?
Hey guys, yesterday one of the callers mentioned that if Jacoby were to go 6-2, would Gerard Mayo have the stones to pull him for Drake May? And I don't think they should. I don't think they will. But at the same time, if they're so strict to this plan, this developmental plan for Drake, and it does get to that, say, set game where they haven't planned that would be the time to stick in Drake May, do you think they would still be strict to the plan? Or do you think that they would kind of push the plan back because of the success of the team?
Yeah.
And I'll take it off air. Thank you.
Cameron. I know we talked about it yesterday, and I said if they're winning games 12-10 and they're 6-2, I think they would. Now, you disagree, right, Paul?
I don't think there's any scenario that would exist that they would be 6-2 and make a change,
Yeah.
other than an injury. And I don't know. It's a great question. It's a great scenario that he brings up. I would say I don't know that their plan. I know they have a plan.
What if the
but I
two
don't know
games
that-
are the last two games?
I don't know that the plan specifically says in week X.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that's what the scenario that he's trying to unfold. Like,
Right.
they're saying we're going to let Brissett play the first 8 games no matter what. Then May goes in.
Right.
And now, does the plan change because they're 6-2?
Yeah, I don't think that.
I don't
plan
think that's the way the
exists.
plan is
I
set
don't-
up.
Right, I agree.
I like the question of would you rather make the playoffs with Jacoby Brissett this year and not play May, or miss the playoffs and have May play?
I'd rather make the playoffs.
No.
I think it's hard to say I would rather not make the playoffs.
I know, it's
Yeah.
weird.
I want May to play as badly as anybody, probably except for Evan. But I if you're a fan of the team and you don't want them to make the playoffs, I don't know how that.
Yeah.
I don't know how you
Too much.
sort of.
But now people will say, oh, but you're adding extra pressure to him because next year you're going to expect him to go to the playoffs and it's his first year and blah, blah, blah. You know?
Jacoby gets him to the
That's a
playoffs, and then you start May.
You think that's a stretch? People are going to say, this team went to the playoffs with Jacoby Brissett. Drake May should at
Conference
least get them
championship.
to where he was.
Well, when he's ready, yeah.
Next
That's-
year, I'm talking
but
about.
that's fair.
If he's not ready next year, then what are we doing?
No, I'm saying when he's like, well, if he doesn't play at all this year, I'm going to tell you right now, he's not going to be ready at the start of next year.
Yes, he will.
Next year to play to his
He'll have
full
never played a game,
capabilities.
but he will.
Like Tom
start.
Brady wasn't ready when he just went in and they ended up winning the Super Bowl.
No, I know, but and Tom Brady wasn't the 3rd overall pick. If let's just say for whatever reason, Drake May doesn't play this year, he will be the Week 1 starter next year.
Yeah, when I said not ready, I didn't mean like not ready, like the coaches won't play him.
Yeah.
I mean he's not going to be ready to be
Well,
his best self.
of course
like,
not.
Right.
No,
You can only
that's
get
all.
that by
You'll
playing
still have,
and,
yes.
and taking your lumps and
Yeah, of
having some
course.
bad games
Of
and
course.
bouncing back from
That's
it.
why.
That's my
That's
point.
why a lot of people like me want him in now. Like,
Yeah.
take
Well, I
those
want him
lumps
in
down.
now too.
Yeah.
Right now.
That was a little Felger-like right there. Like I'm the only one that wants Drake May to play.
Ray's in
Hey, how you
Atlanta.
guys
What's
doing?
up, Ray?
Hey, I'm just checking in. Good to hear from y'all another week. And pretty much, we're on the right track. I'll just keep it simple on this call. We're on the right track, and we just need to protect Brissett at all costs. And like you guys said, make sure that Andrews is okay too. Because that's an important job that he has to do in the front. So as long as we're on the right track, without being ahead of ourselves or whatever, we can take on, we can dominate Seattle. We can keep going, with it. So that's all I got to say for this call, man. Good to hear from you guys.
Okay.
Thanks, Ray.
Ray more with a statement than a question.
Yeah. You knew this was coming, Mike.
Alex is in Greece. What's up, Alex?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Good.
Hey.
Where in Greece are you?
Thessaloniki.
Okay. I don't know where that is, but
Ever heard
I
of
don't
it?
even know
Well, you
why I
asked.
asked.
There's one thing that you could have said. Athens.
Yeah. Sparta?
So,
Are you in
the-
Sparta?
No, I'm
Troy?
born in Boston. I'm the first of my family born in America, and I moved back home with everybody. So, yeah. So I just had a question, kind of to play devil's advocate for the win the other week. Again, I know it's just week 1, and there's a long way to go, but are you guys worried if none of our offensive draft picks end up really picking up? Because Javon Baker already got suspended. Polk wasn't involved. Jaheim Bell isn't really doing anything. Would it be a disappointment for you guys if only Drake May is the person who really shows up this year and shows you anything? Because so far, I mean, we haven't really seen anything to be excited about from the young offensive weapon. So that's all I got. Thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah. Minimally, I
would not
want
be.
Polk to do something.
If Drake May pans out, I would not be upset. I mean, obviously, I want the more guys that pan out, the better. But as long as Drake May panned out.
What is he talking about? Baker being suspended?
Yeah, I don't know where he got that.
Is that a-
Unless did I
No.
miss a report?
Yeah.
No, I didn't see anything.
No. I know some people were
just didn't play.
Thinking that maybe he didn't play for disciplinary reasons.
A lot
but
of people
I haven't heard anything.
A lot of people thought Jalen Polk was open, from time to time.
Yeah.
So I'm not looking at like one game and saying, well, that's a disappointing draft pick. Jaheim Bell was a 7th round pick. Like if he pans out, great.
Yeah.
I'm not putting him in the same category. But if Drake May works out, that's worth it
It's
for
the
me.
biggest piece of the puzzle. But I mean, I'd be disappointed if Jalen Polk doesn't turn around, have a good, solid year. I'm not expecting him to.
Like, what would you rather have? Like Jalen Polk, Jaheim Bell, and Javon Baker all work out and Drake May doesn't?
Yeah, right.
Or
Drake
the other
May.
way around?
Drake May all day. I mean, that's the hardest piece to get, and he's got all the talent in the world. So I mean, if they do get Drake May, get Drake May. But if he does become the guy, everything's on the table, as Evan said. Everything's on the table.
Well, I mean, back to Helen's question. What is something that right now we're not worried about that we should be? Should be we worried still about the quality of our draft picks? Like getting back on track with making good draft picks?
No, but if I was really like, all right, so we're going to go negative concerns. This is, basically my wheelhouse. Okay, so I would worry that how they played offensively is how they want to play.
Right.
Yeah.
But you're worried about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How they played offensively in the game is not an aberration. That's how they want to
So
play.
to Helen, that means
they want to be
that means
conservative.
you shouldn't be worried about it.
No, that's something that I don't think a lot of people are worried about. But
I'm talking about you. But you are worried about it.
So the question was, did I think he just put me in.
I felt like we were doing picks all of a sudden.
He put me in the grinder. The question was, what is something that you're worried about that other people aren't, but they should be?
No, that you shouldn't be.
No, he asked for both. Helen asked for both.
No, I know. But it wasn't, what are you worried about that other people? It's like, what are you worried about that you shouldn't be worried about?
Okay, well, this is something that other people aren't worried about that I am.
Why are you bringing other people? I want to know your opinion.
I just told you.
Okay.
How they play offense is something that I would be worried about that fans aren't. They think that Sunday was great. Right? That was the second part of Helen's question.
I don't know if that's the spirit of the question.
Helen asked something that the fans aren't worried about that they should be.
I don't.
Correct?
I think she meant
that was one of the two questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are fans not worried about that they should be?
And you're telling them that
and
they
I would
should
say
be.
that.
All right. Well,
I think you should be worried about how they want to play offense.
Yeah, they don't.
Because
they don't
I've heard
throw the
Alex
ball.
Van Pelt say it all summer. I've heard Gerard Mayo say it all summer. What they did on Sunday wasn't like by accident the way the game plan unfolded.
Yeah.
That's how they want to play. I don't think you can win doing that.
Yeah.
I'm on record as saying that. I would be worried about that.
Yeah.
I think
And
a
you're
lot
saying
of
fans
a lot
aren't
of
worried
fans
about it.
aren't, including the guy who said yesterday if they play like that all year, they can win 11 games.
Right, he did. Well, they had to have 2 games where they scored 26 or more.
Yeah, he had a lot of qualifiers.
Yeah.
But if you play like that, you ain't scoring 26.
All right, we talked a little bit about talking about Tom Brady's debut as a color analyst. I heard a little bit about it. I didn't watch or listen to the whole game, but I tuned in from time to time. To me, it was just weird hearing his voice in that context.
Sure.
It was just weird.
I'm going to be. I want to turn this over to Mike because I think he has something here.
Not major. But
The one thing that I'll say, which kind of contradicts what I've often said about the announcers, like I make fun of the Syracuse bots.
Yeah.
His voice was funny.
Yeah.
His voice sounded funny on the air to me.
Yeah.
What a catch and what a throw.
Right.
Like I don't think
That's a perfect
I don't
clip,
think
Matt.
he sounded like an announcer.
Right.
No, it wasn't a big take that I had, but I just felt like he was a guy pointing out things that everybody sees. You know, everybody see like you need more from a color analyst, especially from a guy like Brady. And we talked a little bit about Romo, you know, maybe using some of the pre-game meetings to, forecast things. But I like that. Like
So when Romo first started, did you like him or not like him?
I did like him. I did like
too.
him. I did like him. I've gotten, it's kind of gotten stale, and I don't really listen to these guys anyway. We just kind of watch the game and talk amongst ourselves. But I want insight from Brady. I want to know what's going through his mind if he were watching this coverage. And instead, he's like, and Micah Parsons off the edge, and there he is, and he sacked him. Like I know. I like tell me something I don't know, Tom. And again, like I think he's new, and it's probably will get better. What am I being mean to Brady again?
Your
hate Brady. My Brady
underlying hatred of Brady just comes out at all times. It's unbelievable.
I love that man.
No, I thought it was exactly what Mike said. I didn't really hear anything. I didn't watch the game start to finish. I did, believe it or not, very rare for me, I shut off Red Zone and put on Fox so I could hear like a drive or two in the fourth quarter. Now, by the time that happened, because, we were doing post game by the time I got home, the game was pretty much decided. But, like, there was one deep ball that Watson put right in Amari Cooper's hands. And Brady didn't say anything about being dropped or anything like that. And I was like,
yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
But it's not conventional, but I'd almost rather just the play-by-play shut up. Let Tom Brady just talk as if he's the quarterback watching the line of scrimmage. Just rattle it off, buddy. What are you seeing? Safeties. What are you looking for? Is he, just blast it out.
That's perfect, Mike.
That's it.
He had too much dead air.
He's circling Micah.
There was.
He's
waiting.
circling Micah Parsons. So tell us, like, what's going through your head. Like, okay, so obviously this guy's been disruptive all day. You need to slide the protection over here. Deshaun Watson doesn't do that quickly enough. Something, that's very rudimentary. Like, he should be able to do that, at a very high PhD level, football-wise, and I didn't hear any of that.
I heard one person say that the fact that he said the quarterback got lucky on a couple throws is evidence that he's going to be critical of players.
That's kind of lucky there.
That's it.
Like I was envisioning if Brady threw the ball to Cooper, I just was envisioning Amari Cooper never getting the ball thrown to him again.
Yeah.
Like Brady would have been so mad because Watson didn't play well in that game, but he got the snot kicked out of him. And in the fourth quarter of a 20-point game, he dropped a dime to Cooper, and it went off his hands. I didn't think he gave a great effort for it. I think he gave a scoreboard kind of effort for it, we're down anyway. And I think Brady would have lost his mind if that pass didn't get caught for him.
It's funny because there were two promotional videos having to do with Brady getting, one was that video with the binders, and he showed how he had binders on every team, and he's doing all this research. And then there was more of a teaser that Fox put out where, the different Tom Bradys throughout his career come to him about how it's always about the work you put in and you're the GOAT. And so I came into the game thinking, okay, this guy wouldn't allow that to go out unless he had really put in a different level of preparation. And maybe he's going to raise the bar for all other analysts and make it, but it was really vanilla.
I mean, do you buy that everybody's just he'll get better. He's
I'm
relentless.
sure he will.
I thought he sounded better from the clips late than he did early, but how much?
I mean, to Matt's point, there was a lot of dead air where, who was the guy doing the game with him? I forget.
Kevin Burkhardt.
Kevin Burkhardt. He would stop talking, and that's obviously where the color analyst fills in. And Tom said nothing.
Yeah,
just rips through, and
I don't know if
that's why he's reigning defensive player of the year.
I mean, I don't know if he was coached. Tom, if you don't know what to say or don't have anything to say, don't say anything. Maybe he was coached that way.
Yeah.
But it was a little awkward at times.
Yeah, I think vanilla is a good word too that you used, Fred. I mean, I'm sure he will get better. He's never done it.
Yeah,
that was his first ever game.
Yeah,
and I know he's
and to be thrown into the
practiced,
A team
but it's a little
that.
bit different.
Yeah,
so he will get better, but I'm not sure that. There's been a lot of the Brady support, and there's a million out there, but everybody told him he couldn't do X, Y, and Z coming out of college, and do the. It's not the same.
No, that's what I was
and
getting
you can't just lift more weights and study more he knows football better than anyone that's doing that job. You're not he knows what it's not it's not in his personality. I don't think to be to me an engaging on air personality. I just don't think he has that.
How long till it's a 3-person booth?
That's a good point.
I from the day it was announced, I never thought I'd see the day where he would do it. I thought something would happen where it wouldn't happen. But there he is.
Evan's back from
Evan's
practice.
here.
Hello.
2 songs in one show.
What was the first one?
Oh, don't worry about it.
All right, Evan, what do you got for us?
Well. Patriots back out at practice on Wednesday. And although, no disrespect to City So, who was not at practice, I thought it was good news that everybody else was at practice. So you come off a game, and it seems like they got out of that game relatively healthy. I'm sure there's some bumps and bruises.
We never got
like
to the injured.
But there were no big injuries. Everybody at practice today besides City, like I said, who wasn't at practice at all last week either. So some good news, some bad news, but I would say mostly good.
It's nice when the other team doesn't fight back.
Wow. Paul, I'm starting to wonder a little bit about City. I know it probably wasn't the catastrophic Achilles tear that we thought at first, but you were a little bit, curious about what it actually was. It's just, it seems like it's something significant.
Maybe if it's are they still calling it ankle?
Yes.
It's blood clots.
Could it be could it be a strained calf? High, something like that. You look at what they're dealing with McCaffrey now.
Yeah, you worry about the Kristaps Porzingis injury, where it was the right up his calf, and it's the ligament that attaches to the Achilles, but it's not the Achilles itself. The problem is that if you play on it too early, then the Achilles is next.
And I wonder if they did that.
If they're holding.
I wonder if he went to practice because he was back on the practice field one of those days, right?
Last week,
the week between the game and then the game week, right? The week between the Washington game and game week, wasn't he on the practice field once?
Maybe very briefly, but I haven't seen him participate in any extended practice since the injury. So
so maybe I'm misremembering that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So
yeah,
there we go.
I hear it was pads today.
Pads today, full pads. Yep, and it's cool because because of when locker room is, we actually get to see them
putting on the pads.
Putting on the pads and getting ready for practice.
Yeah.
So now it makes my job easier. It's one less thing that I have to note.
Because you've already seen it.
I've already seen it. So I saw them putting the pads on, and I was like, pads today. Mental note.
Gerard mentioned that they are going to announce were the practice players of the week.
Yes.
Were they wearing the black jerseys that they did in the past?
They were indeed. Yes, they were indeed wearing those. And I thought it was interesting on that list. A couple of the claims, the waiver claims, made that list. So maybe that's an indication. All of them were inactive for the game on Sunday. Maybe that's an indication that those guys are getting closer to contributing.
So you've seen these practices before, even, in-season practices. And you get to see the warm-ups, right?
Yep.
Conditioning and the stretching, I should say.
Individuals, indie.
Lifting weights.
Was there more up-tempo from our starting quarterback during that session than you've seen in the past?
More up-tempo.
Or just more of a feeling of, I'm the captain. I'm the leader of the team from Jacoby Brissett.
Oddly specific question.
I wouldn't say so.
No?
I think he's kind of been the same guy.
Same guy? Okay. All right.
Since the start of training camp. And I think he's pretty much been the same. But they did say that Joe Milton was a practice player of the week. And so he was out there in a black jersey. And
it was Joe Burrow, I guess, right?
Joe Burrow,
Milton,
him and Drake
Joe
May
Burrow.
mimicking Joe Burrow on the scout team last week. So it was about the same, I would say, in terms of his energy or his mood. But the one thing with these practices is a little bit different is that the skill players, both offensively and defensively, not the line, the defensive line and the offensive line are doing their own thing. But they're doing a lot of that conditioning work that we saw them do in training camp, where they were like running through the ladders and like stuff like that to start practice. They're doing a lot of that work, band work, things of that nature, while that is we are able to watch practice. So that's going on still even into the season now, that they're warming up in that way.
I think it's actually called the dynamic warm-up. Seriously. We make fun of the dynamic kickoff, but they call this like a dynamic warm-up.
Yeah, it's just interesting. I thought that, we had the whole take them to the hills thing, from the game on Sunday, and it does seem like the conditioning stuff is real. That they are really taking that seriously, and they have the guys out there. The corners, the safeties, linebackers, receivers, quarterbacks, running backs, tight ends. Those guys are out there doing these
Long
conditioning
snappers.
stuff.
Yeah. Now, I know you can't verify it because you don't get to see all the practice.
Yep.
But the report that Drake May was getting 30% of the first team snaps in practice.
Yes.
Surprising to you? Is that number seem just right? Too high? Too little? What do you think?
I would say maybe a little too high.
Too high?
I did have a conversation with Drake in the locker room before practice, and that was not the impression. I don't know who reported that, though, so I don't want to throw any shade at
Somebody
anybody.
said it was CBS.
Someone said the sideline report. Mike and I were probably deep in conversation, so we missed it. Someone said the sideline reporter reported that.
Yeah, that's definitely. I mean, look, he was the backup quarterback, so he's going to get a couple of reps towards the end of every team period, you would think, just because if he has to play in the game, he's got to be somewhat ready.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's probably maybe normal. I don't know.
I don't know. That's why I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what a normal number would be.
Yeah, I do know that he did a lot of scout team stuff, though. That was big. And one of the things that he was saying to me was just that it's good because he's going up against the starting defense of the Patriots. So he's going up against a really good defense, mostly with practice squad guys and backups at his skill positions, and he's got to go out there and mimic Joe Burrow and make stuff happen and try to make throws on a really good defense. So I think that is good for him.
Okay. Mike in Wilmington, formerly Bill Ricca, writes in, I saw a tweet of, this is really a question for Evan, he says, but I guess
sorry. Yeah, please be quiet.
I saw a tweet of someone who tracked every team's use of motion on offense.
Yep.
The Patriots used motion, the fifth fewest percentage of offensive plays in motion during the snap, the second fewest. The teams near us were the Browns and the Panthers. I know the Patriots are always near the bottom of the league in motion. Is this purely a personal issue, or do our coaches not know how to use motion to get the most out of the offense? Teams like the Chiefs, Dolphins, Niners use motion on over 80% of the plays.
Yeah, so the data I had saw from Next Gen had the Patriots like more middle of the pack than that. I don't know. Sometimes how you classify different types of motions can be different from one person to the other, but they don't major in motion in this offense. They did a little bit more under O'Brien. I would say last year they were like 12th, I want to say, in motion rate. So they have done it a little bit more in the past. I think the biggest thing is that if you're going to motion, then you want the motion to have a purpose. You don't want to just motion for the sake of motioning. And I think sometimes certain coaches believe that as much as it can cause issues for the defense, it almost causes as many issues for the offense if you're not quite buttoned up on everything that you're doing. So I'm a big fan of motion, especially in the run game, because I think it creates angles and it creates numbers to certain sides of the formation in the run game. And then obviously if you show the same motion, then that can be eye candy to the defense on play action to sequence those things together that, oh, here comes that motion again. That means they're probably running this run play. Oh, actually, no, now it's play action. So those are ways that you can kind of dress up plays for play action.
It's also a way for the quarterback to see how the defense reacts.
Yeah, post-snap, like pre-snap shifting is big with that. The Patriots with Brady used to do that all the time where they'd shift Edelman from one side to the other. If somebody follows him, it's probably man-to-man coverage. If somebody doesn't and you kind of bump over, then it's probably zone coverage. But defenses have actually wised up to that. And the Patriots did this a couple of times on Sunday where they put Gonzalez on Chase in the slot and then played zone out of it. So that would normally be a man-to-man indicator for the defense because, like, Gonzalez traveling into the slot with Chase, and then they would drop out and play cover two, and I think that confused Burrow a little bit. So defenses have kind of caught up to that chess match a little.
And to Paul, this is still Mike in Wilmington. I've
Not
said
you,
this
Deuce.
before,
Mike's,
but this
Mike's.
doesn't feel any different than previous Bill offenses post-Brady. Just fewer penalties than I expected.
Sure.
Yeah, I would kind of the one thing that really stood out to me from a positive aspect is the penalties. Like every day in practice, you know,
It was
a false start fest, and there was I think one.
Yeah.
I think Vidarian Lowe got called for one false start. So that to me, they cleaned that up. That was a really good sign.
855-PATS-500 is the TPX hotline. Justina is in North Carolina. Hey, Justina.
Hi, it's me again. I just wanted to say that I'm not convinced about Jacoby as of yet. And I think Mayo is talking about you want us to get 300 yards or so because he was trying to be sarcastic about Evans because Evans said that they didn't get enough passing yards. And I also, that T-shirt, the Tennessee T-shirt, I think they're trying to make fun of, playing an ACC team, which Deuce himself said, that he felt that Drake wasn't going to be as good because he's faced a bad defensive league, and I kind of wish people would stop judging him by the league he came from, but by the talent he has. And I'm just not convinced that Jacoby was the one yet because he said I know the throw to play and not get dunked and run in the run play he did. He said he learned from other quarterbacks. Well, he's learned from a quarterback on his team right now, Drake May. Drake May did all those things. Jacoby never ran before, what I understand. Now all of a sudden he's running. But, I'm not yet. And at the same time, I am concerned that if they don't get the guy that's blocking, kept hitting him, he and Drake will be hurt because the guy that probably got up a little, probably a couple of times.
Yeah.
And I know they need to cover that end, that letting the guy get through. Also, I'm not too happy about the things that the coach from last year would say about he's been saying about Drake, and he's not. First he said it was his footwork, and now he's saying he just doesn't read. He's not hadn't had enough experience reading. How does he know what experience he knows about reading
I hear you.
coaching him.
Yep.
So that's my 2 cents.
All right. Thanks, Justina. Good stuff.
Like
Kinda
that, the coach from
defending
last year.
the coach from last year. Yeah.
I'm going to start calling him that too.
I don't know. I saw what Bill said. I thought that's kind of what
Yeah.
everybody's been telling us. I mean, that's what Brady kind of said. I mean, it's
What did Bill say?
It's just that he's got a long way to go and he needs to work on his footwork and
that
clean
just
up and-
completely ignores talent
With
on offense.
Patricia, right?
Yeah,
pretty
The
much.
thing from a couple weeks ago. Okay.
I think it was last week.
I got to be honest with you. I didn't catch most of that.
Well,
call.
it was. I
It's
don't
a
know
tough,
if she's
tough connection.
calling from the state fair or something. There was a lot going on in the background. Yeah.
So you guys will have to fill in some of the blanks.
After the show. Let's
Okay,
But
thank
Bo
you.
Nix is ready to play. 2 picks. Worst quarterback in the league in week 1. He's ready to play. Drake May, 2 years away. 2 years away. Yeah. Good stuff.
2?
Good stuff.
3.
Long way to go, Mike. Long way to go.
Let's go to Nate in the northern eastern Pennsylvania.
Okay, very specific.
Northeastern Pennsylvania. What's
There you
up,
go.
Nate?
What up, PU crew? How you doing?
Hey.
Deuce, I got something for you.
Thank God. Jeez, I was sitting here.
It's boring, though. I'm going to put your mind in a blender with the pronunciation of one of our players' names, okay?
Okay.
And the only reason I'm picking on you is because of the age-old Chandler versus Chandler Jones thing.
Chandler.
I don't know if you caught during the broadcast this past week, but I think it was Ian Eagle who said that Josh Uche now wants to be known as Josh.
Oh, I know.
It's
yeah.
actually Joshua.
Mr. Joshua.
Yes, that's something that came out very early in the offseason.
Yeah, correct. If you notice in my writing, he's always
not
referred to as Joshua.
Correct.
Yep.
Oh, all right, good. As long as you know. I'm sorry, I didn't know you already knew this.
Yeah,
but
PR
it's
informed
good
us of that. We have to know that because we can't, typos.
Can't have any missteps. Joshua.
Well, there you go. All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks. Can I give a little bit of nonsense? I just can't stop thinking about this,
Sure.
and I might regret saying this right now, but
I love Mike nonsense.
we had a call from Greece, and then we had a woman named Helen call, so it was like the Trojan War in here, like Helen of Troy in Greece. I don't know. I can't. Stop
Helen
thinking
of
about
Troy.
that.
It's not as good as your normal nonsense, but
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't know what it is, but I just like, wow, that's
look
weird.
at that. Now
We got a
Troy-
call
now
from
Troy's
Greece
online, too.
And a Helen. I know that's what we need.
Yeah.
Was there an Achilles calling or what's going on?
Probably not.
I had a more inappropriate.
That would just be silly.
I had a more inappropriate joke that I said during the break, but I can't repeat it. Let's see. Little trivia. You ready?
Oh, nice.
Patriots trivia with the upcoming Seahawks game. 1. Don't look.
I'm not looking.
First of all, I couldn't read it if I
wouldn't even
looked. My glasses are over
What
here.
is the Seahawks record at Gillette Stadium?
They won the last one.
Yeah, I remember that
They
game.
lost in 04.
I'll say 2-8.
At Gillette Stadium?
At Gillette Stadium.
Gillette Stadium.
I'm going to say
I was just thinking
1
home.
and 2.
I'm going to say 1-1.
1-1 is correct.
I didn't know if there was one back in the day I didn't know about.
So they
Too young.
lost.
You too old.
Yeah, they lost the last one. It was a night game.
Yeah, like off a bye.
Yeah,
last
20
second play.
15, I want to say.
Yeah,
16.
and then the Patriots won. I want to say in like 03.
I think
04
maybe
-ish?
04. Brady on his butt threw a pass in that game, I think.
I don't recall that. I remember him throwing a pass from his butt against Cincinnati.
Maybe that was the different one.
I want to say a Matt Hasselbeck-led Seahawks team in a
Yeah.
reasonably high-scoring affair.
Okay.
Patriots
I watched
won.
that one.
Do you remember the cover for PFW?
No.
No?
Wasn't Bad Kitty.
No.
You could have had Bad Kitty this week.
I could have.
Not
Okay,
knocking
I
around
don't
the
know
Kings.
who we're talking
When
about.
they beat the Bengals and the Bengals beat the Patriots. The opener in 01.
And it was
He
Bad
put
Kitty.
Bad Kitty with the Bengal on.
Today's day and age
It-
does
it-
not mean
listen,
the same thing as it
Freddie,
did back then.
Freddie has a lot of really, really cool covers under his belt. That just wasn't one of them. And Andy and I have been busting his balls about it ever since.
It's all personal take,
Like you couldn't do like
personal preference.
Pussycat whipped.
And there it is.
Okay. And there. The overall regular season record between the Patriots and Seahawks is 10-8. Who has the most wins?
Seattle.
New England, they've been bad.
I'll say the Patriots.
Yeah, Patriots.
Seahawks.
Yeah.
And finally, how many touchdown passes did Brady have in that Super Bowl game?
4.
4 is correct.
Yeah.
There we go. 4 is correct.
LaFell,
We need go no
Gronkowski, Edelman. Who is the fourth one? Amendola, maybe?
Gronk.
The other guy.
Yeah, I say
before half.
Gronk.
Gronk, Edelman, Amendola, and LaFell.
Yeah, I missed Amendola.
That throw to Amendola still, that from like the
And the
behind
ba-
shot in the end zone, and it's
Yeah.
just like, a sea of hands and like the ball just like.
I think it's the same exact.
Is that
play
the one where he
as,
turns and points to Josh?
No, that's Edelman.
Oh, that was Edelman. Okay.
Yeah, that's the go-ahead touchdown.
The game winner.
Yeah.
Game winner. I think the throw to Amendola is the same one as the AFC Championship game against Jacksonville.
Yeah, the
It's the same play, I think.
Corey in Boston. Do you guys think Jacoby's performance last Sunday against the Bengals could help solidify the Patriots' winning formula with his mobility throughout the course of the season? I don't think so. No.
I do think he played pretty well for the most part, but no, I don't think.
A lot of his mobility was escaping sacks.
I don't think that's a good formula for success.
Yeah. His sack avoidance and just like overall managing of pressure, it's hard to not have that kind of pressure become catastrophic to the offense, and he avoided the catastrophic mistakes. But I do think he's getting a lot of credit for that.
Yeah.
And there were some throws I felt like he missed in the game that he's not getting dinged for necessarily, but he did do a really good job like that. Some young quarterbacks, you put them in a 50% pressure rate like that, and you're going to have 3 turnovers, no sweat. So the fact that they didn't turn the ball over like crazy is impressive.
Okay.
I would agree.
More post-game suggestions.
Uh-oh.
Big fan of the show. Really appreciate the guys keeping us informed, especially for those of us that have the misfortune of leaving New England. On the topic of the post-game show, please, he has in capital letters, cool it with the mid-show fan calls. I know Paul already mentioned it on the pod, but it really disrupted the flow of the conversation. Love my Patriots fans out there, but I tune in to hear your valuable insight, not to hear fellow fans ask the same 5 questions. No shade to Matt Smith. He seems like a fine fellow, but that's definitely an adjustment worth making as the season progresses.
No, it's not. We're going to take calls, and we're going to have interaction with the fans every week.
Well, I think the timing of it is what he's talking about.
He just said mid-show.
Don't interrupt your conversation to do it. Like if you're in a flow.
I see what he's saying. I see what he's saying. I think I respect that.
I didn't listen that closely, so
yeah,
I don't.
My only thing, like we have segments in the pre and post game show that I think should run. Like when we were doing the keys to the game, we shouldn't do 2 keys to the game and then take a call and then do 2 more keys to the game. We're doing good, bad, the injured. We do that until we're done.
Yeah.
And that basically that's a good 45 minutes. Like the good, the bad, the injured. I would say that I agree with the emailer on that. We should keep those. But other than that, everybody has a voice on our show.
I think it's important after games to let people vent. Either celebrate or vent.
I think it's hugely important, especially in post game.
Yeah. That's why we're here. We're here as a service.
Yeah, maybe I'm misinterpreting it, but because I felt sometimes like we were starting to get into a little thing and then we kind of broke it up to go to calls. Maybe that's what he meant, where it wasn't necessarily just taking calls in general, but it's if you feel like a flow is kind of starting and you're in a rhythm with something, don't break it up for the call. Which
okay, maybe that's what he's talking about. We'll yell at Matt later.
Yeah. Jordan, Hawaii. I know this is turning the page day. However, I want to go back to week 1 to discuss something. How do you guys feel about the other rookie quarterbacks that started? Looks like many of them struggled. Does the fact that many of them struggled change your opinion on sitting Drake May, or at least validate the team's decision to give him more time to develop? No, it doesn't change my opinion.
Doesn't change
because
mine either.
I expect these guys to struggle. That's the whole
Correct.
point.
That's why I want
them
to
get it
play.
out of your system. Learn from what you can and can't do. Make mistakes. Learn from doing or not doing. And I would expect all these guys to struggle. The famous example we use is Peyton Manning. He had more interceptions and than touchdowns his first year, but the Colts knew what they had in him. I think it wasn't a big deal.
It's just going to be interesting to see the progression of these guys because we did this as our topic on PU, and there's certainly value from starting and playing, but it only really matters if you're able to get better and improve. Because if these guys, how do all 3 of these guys do? I mean, maybe one of them, it starts to unravel for them, and instead of getting better, it starts to get worse, and they're not seeing things, and then they got to take a timeout. So it'll be interesting. There's 3 of them, so they're starting right out of the gate. See how they progress here in the coming weeks.
I think, if anything, Jacoby's performance justifies the team's decision, the Patriots' decision, to go this direction because
got hit like 20
he
times.
He won the game. I don't feel like other quarterbacks really have much bearing to me. But if the whole decision was Jacoby's going to manage the game, he's going to keep them in games and keep them competitive while Drake gets to 100% ready, then
if you wanted
week one, check.
If you wanted to start Drake May because you thought he was going to be the better choice, like he's gonna be like ready to go right out of the chute, then I think you probably were wrong. Like the performance by Caleb Williams and Bo Nix and Jaden Daniels was not the least of which, none of them surprising at all. Like that's generally how rookie quarterbacks look out of the chute, unless they're on great teams and are just asked to hand the ball off. You know, like then you can have some success right away. But when you're asked to like carry the offense or be a big part of the offense, that's generally how it looks. CJ Stroud is not how it's supposed to look. That's an outlier. Have a guy just come into an offense and lift it almost immediately. Don't be confused by what you see in preseason games, because that's not what you see. Jaden Daniels tried to run all over the place in that game against Washington. Even Dan Quinn has already told him that's not what we want. That's not what we're looking for. In the preseason, you can do that. Caleb Williams made a bunch of plays in the preseason, kind of running around schoolyard football. He did that and got sacked for a 19-yard loss by a guy who's probably every bit the athlete that he is. You know what I mean? That he wasn't seeing in the preseason.
Yeah.
So these guys are going to struggle initially, but that doesn't change my opinion. I think I want
here's the
ideally Chicago wants Caleb Williams to hit those little passes that he missed the other day.
Well, here's the question
next week in the weeks going forward and be better.
Here's the question to throw back to the emailer. If all these guys progress faster than Drake May, does that validate them starting sooner? Like, if their progression as a pro comes faster?
Basically, so Mike, you had like a hypothetical about would you rather make the playoffs with Jacoby Brissett or not make it with Drake May? And I think that maybe if you had said, so Jacoby Brissett is probably going to win a couple more games than Drake May would if he played all 17. So would you rather go 7-10 with Brissett or 5-12 with May, something like that?
Right.
Then I think you're in a conversation
for sure. Yeah.
That you could look at and say, well, the benefit of May getting that experience and hopefully learning, playing better as the season goes on, might be worth a loss or two. Yeah. As long as I'm not going to make the playoffs. I would rather make, I'll let you speak, Ev, because Mike threw this out earlier.
Yeah.
I think it'd be hard if you're a Patriots fan if you said, I would rather not make the playoffs than make it.
Yeah.
Regardless. You know?
I don't know. I mean, I guess it depends on how it looks. Like, if they don't make the playoffs with Drake May, but he looks like he's the real deal and they just kind of have to build it up better around him, but they make the playoffs like the Pittsburgh Steelers make the playoffs, where they are just this middling team that's going nowhere. I don't know. I might rather be the Drake May camp, just because if he has like a rookie year like Justin Herbert did, where he throws for 4,000 yards and he looks the part, but it's just not a good enough situation for them to win a bunch of football games, then I'm almost more on board with that, because the next 10 years are looking brighter. Whereas if they make the playoffs at 9-8 with Jacoby Brissett, and they're just kind of this middling 2022, 2021 Patriots team.
You're being very specific with that, though. Like, I find it hard to envision a situation that Jacoby Brissett, a 9-year journeyman, had enough around him to make the playoffs. But the guy who was playing lights out, like Justin Herbert did as a rookie, didn't have enough around him to make the playoffs? Like, that's hard. That's hard for me to envision that. Now, if that happened like that, I could. You make a good point. I would rather make the playoffs, because now I think May's inheriting a better situation. Like Mike Felger's the only one who thinks this way. I know. Like, Mike taught me this. Yeah. Mike taught me that it's better to win games than lose them.
That's true.
So you probably should look that up in your football books.
That's why he's number one.
That's why he's tops.
Yeah.
So he wants to be the Pittsburgh Steelers.
No, he wants to win games, so you create a culture, and
I don't disagree with that.
You're making the structure around Drake May better. That shows that you have a good coach, and it shows you that your GM has picked good players. Like, thanks. You're the one who thinks that would be a good thing. Like, if Jalen Polk is a good player, that's good. You're the one that thinks that. Thanks, Mike Felger, for breaking down football for all of us.
All right.
Yes, I will be seeing him in about an hour.
And thank you, everyone, for listening, emailing, calling in today. We appreciate it. We'll be back tomorrow at 2 with our third episode of Patriots Unfiltered this week. When is Catch 22?
Tomorrow after PU.
Tomorrow after PU, so at
Yes.
2 o'clock tomorrow,
Yes.
2:30.
2:15-ish.
Playbook coming up next.
What's going on next?
Going to step
Playbook.
inside the
Playbook with John Rook is coming up next. All right. So we will talk to you tomorrow.
Thank you for downloading this podcast. Subscribe on Apple, Google Play, and everywhere else you listen. Like the show? Please rate and review us. Listener comments and ratings help keep us high in the podcast rankings so new listeners can find us. Be sure to check patriots.com for more news and more podcasts.
The world's original podcast.